This is Heavyweight Hustle, Calvin Tankman. Tune in to True Hill Heat Podcast. You won't be disappointed.
This is Timothy Barr from MLW. Make sure you give a listen to one of the greatest podcasts in the world, True Heel Heat.
Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with True Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
Hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. We are live on the True Hill Heat YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for NJPW Destruction in Kobe 2024 review. Breaking down the latest NJPW major event as only we can. And to do that, I am joined by my never open weight 6-man tag team championship partners. We're united once again after 1 month off due to the G1 taking things over, and they got to give everybody a substantial break after that. But he is back with us, the MC of the past, present, and future of New Japan Pro Wrestling here on the True Heat YouTube channel. It's your boy, Jay News. How are you doing?
Doing all right, brother. Doing all right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am a little bit under the weather today, but I am here with my tag team partners. And I will say this, as you guys well know, or if you haven't been paying attention to True Heel Heat, pay attention now. I don't watch these shows live, so I decided to watch this show late last night. And I was up late last night watching this show. And we have some things to talk about, don't we, folks? We have some things to talk about. But without further ado, please introduce our other team member here.
The only thing I will say to your comment is that this show felt like a proper Road 2 show to King of Pro Wrestling, more than an actual major event itself.
Well, yeah,
like it got me more hyped for King of Pro Wrestling than I ever was for this show that had like 6 Road 2 shows that were played on NJPW World. But I digress.
It was an inconsistent amount of Road 2 shows to Destruction in Kobe. So I think that's where the lack of continuity was. But no, you're right. You're absolutely right. This was definitely a Road 2 to King of Pro Wrestling, and we have some things to discuss.
And finally, the best of us three, the most positive of us three, and the nicest of us three. You know her from Sonal's life. The one and only Sonal is back. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been, like you said, it's been ages. I get what you mean by it seems like a Road to King of Pro Wrestling. I really like the show because, like you said, it's been really inconsistent with the Road 2 shows. So I almost forgot that this show was happening until I looked at my schedule and I was like, oh, okay, there's like a big show coming up. But there was a lot that happened, a lot of like you said, it's set up so much for because King of Pro Wrestling has always been one of the biggest shows of the year. Well, that's what I've always thought. Like I think after Dominion, maybe.
Yeah, I would say like the ones like outside of the big two that they have of Dominion and Wrestle Kingdom. It's like King of Pro Wrestling, New Beginning,
Mm,
Sakura Genesis. Those are kind of
yeah.
in the same range, but I would say yeah, you could probably make the argument that King of Pro Wrestling is like the third behind Dominion.
Yes, I think like they had some really good matches. There was one match that it didn't surprise me, but I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. We'll obviously talk about it when it thing. But all I can say is that they're really starting to try and branch out to give different people like trying to test the waters to see, right, okay, we know that this person is on his way out, this person isn't as good, let's try. And you know what, surprisingly, I think a lot of it worked, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of happy that they did. Obviously they couldn't have tried this at like a King of Pro Wrestling, but I think that the New Destruction in Kobe was the perfect place to do some of their trying, and we had some nice little storylines going forward, so I enjoyed it.
Yes, and some of the matches surprised me on this card as well, but we'll get into all of that. We appreciate y'all if you are joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Remember to show your appreciation back the simplest way possible. Drop the thumbs up on this video. You can also share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. Welcome to our channel. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. Watching us on Facebook, drop a heart, drop a like, drop a laugh emoji, an angry emoji, however Destruction in Kobe made you feel. And of
You can
course,
drop
if you're
an
watching,
angry emoji for House of Torture. We will never say no to that.
you're on to something there. You're on to something there. And most of all, if you're with us live, sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with all of you guys, hear your thoughts on the shows that we
And
discuss.
occasionally SP3 might argue with some of you if he doesn't agree.
I do. You know me so well. You know me so well. Sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with all of you guys. We'll try to highlight as many of your comments as possible. But if you want to show your support to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel and want to make sure your comment is highlighted on screen, you can send a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. It goes back to the contributors that you see on screen with us here, and we always appreciate that kind of support. We got I Make Beats, who is a member of the channel. Thank you so much, I Make Beats, for joining us today. You can hit the join button and become a member of the True Hill Heat YouTube channel for just $1 a month. And he says, "Sup, THH family, nice to see everyone." And yes, I try my best. SP keeps it real. I do. Real and honest. That's what they come here for. We also got here Vala B, who says, "I was pretty Kobe with this show." Like how you did that.
I like that. That's good.
Wordplay. Dustin is here with us, always joining us for our New Japan coverage. Appreciate seeing you, Dustin, in the chat. He says, "Good discussion about a solid show." And we also got Dolores in the chat, the good sister, the tag team partner of J News, saying, "Hey, everyone, please join THH Patreon and channel. Best money you will spend." Yes, best way to support us as well. And I agree. Yeah, Dustin, I would say I would put King of Pro Wrestling above Power Struggle, but I would say Power Struggle is right behind King of Pro Wrestling.
Just slightly. I think it's the time of the year. This is King of Pro Wrestling is obviously I think a bit bigger because you've obviously got it between the G1 and Wrestle Kingdom. It's like smack bang in the middle. Whereas Power Struggle, that's the one. Like, do you know what I mean? It's around the similar time of like Dominion and Best of Super Junior, so it sort of gets lost. Whereas I think King of Pro Wrestling has a really nice spot after New Beginnings and then before Super Junior Tag League.
Agreed there. We got Valabi, who says, "It's just me laughing at Ricochet saying I'm Kobe Bryant with it." Man, Ricochet, he's going to turn heel. That's what I saw in that sit-down interview.
Did you see Ospreay's reaction to that line? He was like, I don't know this, but I don't, this got nothing to do with me.
It was like, that must be an American reference. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think it's probably basketball. We don't have that in the UK. Doesn't apply to me.
He's like, put the hands up. Dustin saying Power Struggle has the most coverage in terms of announcing their Wrestle Kingdom matches. Yeah, I would say that's like one of the more noteworthy of like post G1 post, because in the last couple of years, didn't they like not have King of Pro Wrestling? If I'm not mistaken, like they kind of just like scrapped King of Pro Wrestling the last couple of years and had what was it? I forget. What was the show that they had autumn something with that had the Naito and Osprey, their first match together. It was on some show that I never heard of that was only there for like 1 year.
Oh, like a one-off?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't think of it off the top of my head. But
Thank you. Battle Autumn. Autumn. Yes.
Literally could not even remember that. I forgot that's what it's called.
I was like, I knew it had something to do with the season. That's all I remember of it. I was like, was it Battle? It was like Autumn something. Yes, Battle Autumn. Thank you. We also got Bala B. He says, I love all post G1 shows. This may have been a weak destruction, but Power Struggle and King of Pro Wrestling are great shows annually. And I think this year's King of Pro Wrestling might, like, just off the lineup that they announced earlier today, it might be one of the best shows of the year. Like, if everything hits to what it's like expected to or delivers on it, and we get that big, impactful, maybe noteworthy title change in the main event, it might be one of the best shows of the year, King of Pro Wrestling.
You know what? You realize how big it was when they announced. If any of you have not read the card, go and read it. Mystico versus Hiromu in the first match. That is showing you that there's no. I think there's one multi-man, and that's for Tanahashi's anniversary. But aside from that, it's like special. So I think there's two specials. So Hiromu and that tag one. Then it's title across the board.
Yes, and only one of the title matches I was just like, what? But then I understood. I was like, oh, it's because Jake Lee's injured. No, it's because Jake Lee's injured. And I was like,
okay.
What are we doing with TMDK versus Bullet Club Rogue Army?
But isn't it linked to the Tamashii ones? I think someone who's from Australia said that it's like they're actually carrying that now into.
Hey, to be fair, I don't watch it. So
follow the entire product.
Hey, I watch New Japan Strong. I watch all the New Japan Strong shows. I review it here. They can't get me with Tamagotchi. I don't even think I get that. Do they have that on NJPW World? Thank you, J News. See, like Sonal trying to make me feel guilty for not watching a New Japan product.
I'm saying, don't fault it, because I was a bit confused, but then I saw somebody on Twitter said like it like links to it, and they were happy because actually now there's some continuity between the two sets of shows. So there's probably something that happened down there with the Australians and the Kiwis that makes this make sense.
Okay, all right. I don't get it, but yes. Valaby, I agree with you. Bad coach Fale. But yes, let's talk about NJPW. Destruction in Kobe took place on Sunday, September 29th from Kobe. What did you think? What's your one overall word to give your overall thoughts on this show here, Sonal? We'll start with you.
Anticipation.
Okay. Anticipation. J News, what is your one word?
That's an interesting question to ask of me. One word to describe destruction in Kobe. I'm going to go with revelatory. Right?
This man out here like Mark Briscoe.
It's all about the word of the day, brother. Anyways, in the sense of we got a lot of things revealed to us in this event by the end of it, at least, and obviously during it. So to me, it not to say that I wasn't expecting to see what I saw during the show, but by the end of the show, I was like, okay, where are we going with all of this? So we'll continue to discuss as to what will transpire at King of Pro Wrestling. I am not as enthusiastic about my early on pick for King of Pro Wrestling, but we shall see.
I low key, I kind of feel you, J News, after the ending of Destruction. I'm like, I think Royal Quest might be very different from what we expected.
Oh no! Don't tell me I'm jumping off the bandwagon. I got on the bandwagon at the G1 final.
We've got to be
Y'all flipping me off.
realistic here. We've got to be realistic here.
We shall see. We shall see. But yes, let's talk about destruction in Kobe. My word would be intrigue, because like I said, it built intrigue for the next show. The opening matchup saw a 6-man tag team matchup here, as you had Shoto Amino, Ryosuke Taguchi, and Dragon Daya teaming up to face Yuji Nagata, Tomaki Homa, and Tiger Mask. Taguchi was really kind of the main part of this early portion of the matchup, where he kept trying to do hip attack, and it went wrong on multiple occasions. Tiger Mask kept kicking him in the ass. He then used a roll through and did get the hip attack. Umino came in and shifted the momentum for the team until he was halted by the Kokeshi. With Nagata and Tiger Mask dispatch, Umino's weakened Honma, eventually hitting the Death Rider for the 1-2-3 here. I wish that we would have saw more from Dragon Daya, and it did seem like commentary was alluding to Dragon Daya and Ryosuke Taguchi possibly being a junior tag league tag team come in October. So I am looking forward to that, but I wanted more of Dragon Daya because in the little instances that he was able to kind of showcase himself, he did look good. But this just had too much Taguchi for me to enjoy, and I if you've seen one Taguchi match where it focused on him trying to hit the hip attack, you've pretty much seen them all. So 1 3/4 stars. Sonal.
That's as a strong Taguchi supporter, I spit on that take. I mean, it was like, I like the match. I like it. There's a skateboard. The post-match comments were actually hilarious. If you've got time, go and watch them. Basically, they were like talking, and Taguchi was being Taguchi, basically, because, you know, he's ripping off LIJ at the moment. And
yeah,
so,
Taguchi did Japan. I did see the t-shirt.
And so he basically, the post-match comments was like saying that Shota and Daya should team together, and then that was like not a thing. And then Daya was suddenly like, "Wait, I've got another match at Dragon Gate. I've got to go now." And then at the end, Umino and Taguchi did the Taguchi de Japan roll call chant. So I think he did it. I think there was a thing by Nagata of him saying it's maybe his last match in this arena, this venue, like in Kobe. So could Nagata be teasing that his retirement is coming up?
Well,
we got the Blue Justice.
Yeah, we are celebrating his 40th year in professional wrestling. So I think that he's had quite the career. So winding it on down for the man who is also one of the leads of the Noge Dojo seems fitting enough. I don't even remember this match, if I'm being completely honest. It was a blur. It was definitely a blur. So the only thing that I know that came out of this, or at least from one of the participants in this match, is that Shooter seems to have a new challenger going into King of Pro Wrestling, which we will
not
get.
King of Pro Wrestling, Royal.
Oh, I'm sorry. For Royal Quest. I'm sorry. So that to me is exciting for his opponents, not so much Shooter, because it seems, as some folks have stated in the comments, that Shooter is in the doghouse, and you know, for things that allegedly happened.
Did you hear this alleged rumors at all? Because you weren't on our, what was it? Was it the preview that we talked about this? News?
What's he done?
Oh, the last review. The preview.
Yeah.
No, I have no idea.
So allegedly, Bala B tells us that that there is a rumor, allegedly, that Shoto Amino basically tried to hit on Gabe Kidd's girlfriend, and it led to a real life fight between the two, and that's how Shooter got injured before the G1.
She's like,
we broke Sonal. We broke Sonal.
I think sometimes I forget that at the end of the day, because Gabe and Shota, I think, are the same age and they're younger than me. I forget they're still young boys. They're still, because not to insult either of you two, but they do say that the male brain and the male maturity is much slower. So really, they're still kind of naive in that way.
Oh, and apparently we're getting Dustin. He's adding on to this alleged rumor.
Allegedly.
He says not just gay, but other guys' girls. So
And-
that would get you in the doghouse. If
And
you
Yeah.
this,
multiple
and this
girls.
is what I said on the preview show. You know, for all the cultural yet social significance that Japanese people have behind them about being polite and being very formal folk, this is a little surprising to me to read.
It's not really though, because it's similar. I've watched loads of TikToks and stuff, and while it seems like that, the culture around relationships is different. The number of Japanese videos I see where men are like, "Yeah, we cheat all the time."
Really?
Or we do. If you go on TikTok, it's again, I'm not genuine. This is just from what I've seen, like on TikTok and stuff of young men, and I think it's like, yeah, like again, I'm not saying it's a culture thing, but I have seen that while it is, there are a lot of Japanese men where that even women where cheating is not as such a big thing if they're not fully committed at that point.
Well, then that is news and education to me. So the next time or the time whenever I figure to go to Japan and make a trip of it, I'll just know not to take a lady friend with me.
The thing is, though, I find it like this is no hate to Shota because I love Shota. You know, I'm the biggest Shota advocate, even though he might be Mr. Steal Your Girl Umino. Shota, bless him for the soul of him, compared to Gabe Kidd, is not at the heights he needs to be. E.g.,
Sure.
if you put, for example, and I'm going to put a lineup, even if you add, and we'll speak less, the newest member of TMDK, if you put them all in a lineup and you ask New Japan who you're going to prioritize, who you're going to please, unfortunately, Shota Umino is not going to be at the top of that list. And if these rumors are right, and it's specifically about Gabe Kidd is a moneymaker at the moment. New Japan are realizing this. So they are in no way going to be like, Shota, it's fine, you know, it's okay. You do that with Gabe if they know Gabe's upset about that. Because like I said, Gabe is one of the top stars.
Interesting bit. Like I said, something that's very unexpected. Allegedly.
Yeah, we're not confirming this.
We're not confirming any of this.
Allegedly, this sounds like Umino shoota himself in the foot.
Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I apologize.
I am a dad. I'm sorry. I just had to. It came to my head.
That is hilarious. I will say that. But yeah, bit of interesting piece of news there. But
I did not know that.
I didn't until the preview. Until we did the preview, I was like,
guys,
what?
If you go to Royal Quest, where Shota Umino is going to be there, and you bring in your gal, you might want to not do meet and greet with him. You know?
Yeah. Keep the gal them away from Shooter, yo.
Allegedly, again, this is allegedly.
Mr. Steal Your Girl. But yeah, we'll talk more about that, I guess, in the weeks to come. We got a preview Royal Quest soon as well. But talking about Los Ingonables de Japón, which they were all over this show. They were up next in 6-man tag team action, as you had Yota Tsuji teaming up with Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi to versus the United Empire's Jeff Cobb, Colin Newman, and Francisco Akira. In this matchup, that's when they brought up the fact that Colin Newman and Shooter had been basically feuding on the Road 2 shows, kind of trading, barbs back and forth between one another, since they are now 1-1 with Colin Newman beating him in the G1 and Shooter beating him on his time on Excursion in the UK. But the real central part of this matchup was Tsuji and Jeff Cobb running back their running story from the Road 2 shows. Bushi ran interception for a bit. Newman handled Bushi from there until Takahashi scouted his moves, save for an enziguri, leaving Akira to take it from there. Cobb and Tsuji were going at each other throughout, even on the floor. So it came down to Hiromu and Akira in the ring. After a triple team by United Empire, it looked like Akira was going to put it away, but Hiromu made a comeback. He has him up for the time bomb, but Akira is able to escape, but he lands right on his knee. So then Hiromu drops him on his knee again, and then does a standing figure four, and then drops him down into like a figure four hand lock instead of the leg lock, and gets the submission victory here. I thought it was cool for a new way for Hiromu to get the victory here. This is Los Ingobernables de Japón in a 6-man tag, so it can't be that bad. I gave it 3 stars, but the coming out of this is where we get the big stories of this, because like Sonal said, it was announced that during the post-match interviews, Hiromu Takahashi made a challenge to CMLL's own, the top star for the company, the man that beat him on his anniversary show earlier this year in Arena, Mexico. Mystico will return to New Japan Pro Wrestling at King of Pro Wrestling in Ryogoku on October 14th, and he will go one-on-one with Hiromu Takahashi. Meanwhile, Cobb and Tsuji, they started brawling backstage during the post-match interviews, and it led to Ren Narita, who made his return, even though he was on the injury list. Walker Stewart even mentioned that on commentary. He's on the injury list no more. He got involved in this brawl between the two men, and after attacking both men following their time limit draw on the Road 2 show, it's going to be at King of Pro Wrestling. Jeff Cobb defending the NJPW World Television Championship for the first time in the title's history in a 3-way matchup against Yota Tsuji and Ren Narita. What did you think about the matchup and the fallout with the 2 big matches for King of Pro Wrestling? We'll start with J News this time.
Well, as for the match itself, typical LIJ multi-man match here. Lots of fluid movement between all 3 members there. United Empire also works very well together. They're the other unit that works very well together, so I would want to say that. Francesco Akira seems to he's still trying to find his way, from what I can tell. So we'll see as to where he is in the junior division come sometime soon. I'm sure him and TJP will be back in the junior tag league with one another there. Yet again, to mention Callum Newman going up into Royal Quest against Shooter. We'll see how well that match binds together. Jeff Cobb versus Big Suge is big money. Those 2 guys right there can definitely pair well with one another. I am not sure why we're still being subject to having Ren Narita in matches nowadays. Ren Narita is basically the equivalent of Show and Evil. No one wants to see them anymore. So at this point, I'm not too sure why they pigeonholed them into this 3-way match, but we'll see how it goes. Going into so it's going to be on the next show, right? It's going to be on
King of Pro Wrestling.
So we'll see there. I'm just afraid that they're going to do some shenanigan shit and they're going to give Ren Narita this belt. Which to me, this belt should have gone to Narita before his go to House of Torture thing, because that's what we were building towards. And for us to have a match in which where the champion doesn't have to be pinned type deal, and then him and the House of Torture shenanigans, it just kind of like it breeds that sort of contempt, but yet it's Gato booking. So it's like, Ren Narita is going to become the TV champion just cause, and we're going to give him the belt now instead of 2 years ago when we were supposed to, because we owe the kid one at the end of the day. So it's like,
please, no, don't do it to me.
I hope not, but that's what it reads to me. I hope not, but that's what it reads to me. And then, man, you mentioned Hiromu going issuing a special challenge to Mystico. Mystico, the forever superstar over at CMLL and things of that nature. that should be a fun match. So we'll see how that all breaks down. And Bushi's Bushi. So it's Bushi's Bushi. He's gonna Bushi, man. So
He didn't get pinned though this time.
No, he didn't. He didn't get pinned. Yeah. I'm not too sure what they're gonna go. What he's going to be into. If he's going to be a part of Junior Tag League or if not, I don't know what's going on there. So we'll see how it all shapes out.
Well, he probably will with Teton. Teton will probably come back for that.
Absolutely. I forgot about that young man. So yeah. We'll see how that all boils over. And yeah, man, I'm just afraid that my machination in my head is gonna go down. I can't go right.
No, please no. Suji would be good, I think, as a next.
I feel you. I'm with you, man. I think Big Suji deserves the gold, man, at this point for doing what he's been doing the calendar year 2024. Out of all of the new generation guys, Big Suji deserves the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So we'll see how it all goes down. But it is Kato booking, and they always find a way to make us hate House of Torture even more. So we'll see how it goes.
By putting titles on them.
Yes.
So now, what did you think about this 6-man tag team matchup and the matches for King of Pro Wrestling?
I like the match. Again, like you said, when you get to LIJ and even now to an extent the Empire, you always know it's going to be a good match. I quite liked, and I think Jay News touched slightly upon it, Akira, his interactions with Hiromu. I think it's quite interesting. This is all, I think, stemming from everything that's going on with Doki, is that, like you said, Akira's sort of floundering, but he knows he needs to get past Hiromu. Everyone who has got that title has had to go through Hiromu.
Yeah.
And so that's, I mean, we really need to remember, Akira is so young. Do you know what I mean? His in-ring abilities far past anyone of his age. He's phenomenal. But I like this. I like how they are setting Hiromu as this goalpost. And how generally in the junior division, we've seen it with Doki when he did his promos before his Ishimori match. It's like, he's like, okay, I've beaten Robbie, I've beaten Desperado, I've beaten Hiromu. I've beaten Ishimori, and I really like that. In terms of the matches for King of Pro Wrestling, really excited for Hiromu versus Mystico. I don't watch CMLL, but obviously everyone knows Mystico, and I don't know what happened in their match before, but I like this idea that you're bringing in people from, because Mystico, unlike a lot of the other CMLL guys we see in Best of Super Junior Tag League, we don't really see Mystico. Has he ever done anything in Japan?
Except for, I think, Fantastica Mania last year.
Yeah, I thought that's what I was going to say. Apart from like that one tour, we never really see him, so that's really nice. Yeah. With the triple threat, he's got to be somewhere, doesn't he? Narita's not been out here stealing girls, so they can't punish him in that way.
I wish he would. Sheesh.
I was saying this, and this is like, I don't want to put anything into the atmosphere here. I know they're in different factions, but can you imagine a team of Suji and Jeff Cobb?
I'm with
boys doing athletic stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're both very similar in sense. They're both big, but they both do luchador stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, that's another thing. So, I mean, I hope it's another. I probably won't be. I hope it's another time limit draw. Someone knocks Narita out in the first 2 minutes, shoves him under the ring, and we get another nice match. But again, as Jay News said, it's Gator.
I hope Narita's here to just take the pin from one of these guys so we can continue the Cobb at Tsuji, and maybe that goes into Wrestle Kingdom.
I mean, if I get to see Jeff Cobb versus Tsuji at Wrestle Kingdom. Oh, by the way, guys, this is the first time I've been on since. I have my tickets for Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty.
Yay! Let's go. Representing.
So anything that we're discussing Wrestle Kingdom now is very much in my favor. I'm like, I do want to know. Yeah. I'll speak about this later on in the junior match. There is a small part. We have seen now that it's possible to have House of Torture matches with minimal interference.
You wait, time out. I'm gonna have to stop you there. There is, and like you said, we'll talk about it when we get to the junior match. But that man the heel master is an outlier.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I could hope, J News. I could hope because you know what? There was a time in this timeline of New Japan that Ren Narita was teaming with Desperado and Suzuki, who were obviously teammates with Yoshinobu Kanemaru. A girl can dream, okay? Like it's like, for example, with the junior match coming up, we'll speak about that. I don't have high hopes that we're going to get another Kanemaru, but Kanemaru has proven that in some world, in some alternative universe, there is a member of House of Torture that can have a match. Yes, it's Kanemaru. Yes, he's an outlier. But this man has now given me hope. And this is the problem. He's now given me false hope.
Yeah, it's like give you false hope. That's the correct term. He was the only one of the House of Torture that's been in a tournament where he didn't have everybody running out every freaking matchup.
Can I just say that? I'll discuss this after this match. Yoshinobu Kanemaru, he's Uncle Nobu again. I'll give him that. He can get that name back. For now. Until he does something stupid.
He ain't have that great of a match for me, so I won't give him that. He can't be Uncle. I disowned him. He's with the house. But we got our first singles match on the card up next. It was Hirooki Goto going one-on-one with the Bullet Club War Dogs, NJPW strong open-weight champion Gabe Kidd. And basically, this matchup, they kind of spelled it out for us. This was Gabe Kidd trying to take out Hirooki Goto, so Hirooki Goto couldn't come after David Finlay. So we start off the matchup with Goto's music hitting, and then Gabe Kidd comes out. He enters through the curtain. He grabs a cameraman and drags him to the back, where we see Goto's prone body laid out in the backstage area. He hauls Goto out for all to see. The pair start brawling across the ground floor of the arena through the seats. Kidd is basically battering Goto. Goto tries to fight back, but Kidd gets him down. He starts choking him out on the floor as the referee is counting the 10, and he counts both men out, double count him. But Kidd gets on the mic. He disputes this, calling for a restart, and he wants the match to be no disqualification. He grabs a steel chair only to kick it once. Then he gets into basically a brawl with Goto in the crowd once again. Throughout the matchup, Kidd is just berating Goto as they make it official. It's going to be a no DQ matchup, a restart. So we got 10 matches on this card instead of 9. Kidd berates Goto for causing an injury to Jake Lee during the Road 2 tour, but commentary emphasizes that it wasn't exactly that. It wasn't Goto who injured him. He just got injured on like a freak accident, a match against Chaos. He introduces a table at ringside, trying to redo what he did to freaking Eddie Kingston at Resurgence. They start fighting on the ramp. They fight back to the apron where he's about to suplex him like he did Eddie Kingston, injuring him, but they fight off of that. He grabs the table at ringside and puts it in the ring. He grabs a freaking screw and he goes to nail Goto in the head with it, but Goto is able to move. Then Goto grabs the screw, but he throws it away. He throws away the table. They have a brawl basically in the ring this time, hitting some high impact moves, suplex being traded. We get the Ushigoroshi, we get the GTW, but that's not able to put Gabe Kidd away. But finally, after the Shonte Kai, he hits the GTR for the 1-2-3. Hirooki Goto pinning the NJPW Strong Openweight Champion. But like I said during our preview, J News, we knew what Goto's focus was on. It was on the semi-main event and the Global Heavyweight Championship, but a big win here for Goto. And what I thought was a really good brawl. I thought I gave this one 3.25 stars. I thought it was a fun matchup to have this early in the card when we usually have a bunch of multi-man matches. And yeah, probably in a different world, if Jake Lee doesn't get injured, this is probably a tag team matchup. But Goto got to look strong on his way to a shot at a bigger title. What did you think about this one?
It doesn't surprise me that Gabe Kidd does the kind of stuff that he does anymore, but I'm just always very up for where his creativity is gonna get, where his creativity is gonna take him. Like, I personally, throughout all the years that I've been watching New Japan Pro Wrestling, have never seen, or don't recall seeing, should I say, a wrestler taking the cameraman through the curtain to then show a man lying prone on the floor whilst the match just began. That's part one. So shouts to Gabe for giving us that visual. I thought that was pretty cool. And then secondarily, I want to say that Goto doing what he's been doing in the last couple of months since the even in the G1, he's got plenty left in the tank, man. He's got plenty left in the tank. So it has been good to see him back in some sort of spotlight. So that's been pretty cool as a singles wrestler, that is. So that's been pretty cool to see. The match itself was like you said, SP3. It was fun. It was all over the place. It was no DQ. It was Gabe Kidd knows how to berate a wrestler better than anybody I've ever seen, I feel. And there have been quite a few guys who know how to berate quite a lot of different wrestlers. You know what I'm saying?
So, like, the upper echelon is Roman Reigns and Gabe Kidd when it comes to trash talking during a match. I actually gave this match 3.5 stars. I read my notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was like Gabe Kidd knows how to make any match he's in feel like a real fight.
Yeah. That's he's. Oh man, I don't want to equate the lore and the aura of it, right? But it's more or less the craziness of it. He is the modern day equivalent of what Bruiser Brody was in the late 80s and early 90s, with the wild madman bit in Japan. He's that now to NJPW and things of that nature. So I think it was something that's been missing for a while. And I can appreciate it, which is why I love Gabe. And plus, Gabe's a hell of a technician in the ring anyways. So it's not like the dude lacks any wrestling skill. And he's good on the mic, man. You know. And for all intents and purposes, he's a ladies' man too, even though he got a girlfriend. But, you know, I am not trying to cast any aspersions on Gabe Kidd. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is.
Oh, so now, what did you think about Gabe Kidd versus Hiroki Goto?
I like to think that in another world, in another card, this would have been higher, and also so would have got a higher rating from all of us. Because I was literally saying to, I was like, if you put this as like a title match, or if you put it higher on giving it more, because obviously it was third,
yeah,
so it wasn't going to get much time anyway. But I like this because obviously it's like Jane said, it to keep Goto like present in the big title matches, because obviously with YOSHI-HASHI, he was in the semi-main event. Ishii, don't know where Ishii was. Ishii just chilling in it.
Hey, he's still trying to work out the adoption situation with Chaos and Conglomeration.
Yeah. So and then Yano was in the match. The Goto didn't have anything to do, but rather than like not have people forget about him, but rather than just sort of having him lose any momentum after the G1, because guys, if you didn't watch the G1, Hiroki Goto was amazing. He was, I think, one of my MVPs, I think, from what I remember. Rather than do that, they had him beat Gabe, but again, Gabe did not look bad. And I like that they're continuing this story with Gabe, that he has all the tools in the shed to be the top of the game. But one thing that lets him down is his adrenaline, his unhingedness. Do you know what I mean? He can't control everything going on. And I like that they're carrying this on because, yes, Gabe is a phenomenal wrestler, but you put him against Hiroki Goto. For example, when Gabe got the spike and then they had the table and it looked like Goto was going to get it and do it, Goto pushed it aside because he's like, I have been in this business for long enough. I don't need any of that. Whereas Gabe, straight up, I need no DQ, I need chairs, I need this, I need this. So it balances it. It shows Gabe off to still be strong, but still push that. We don't know what he could do. And then pushes Goto to like, yeah, Goto's in his 40s. Goto is classed as one of the dads, but he can still go. And then that helped. Obviously, what happened in the semi-main event, it helped then push Goto as a main player. And I also want to put that I really enjoy this like underlying story of Finlay manipulating Gabe into saying, you know, your partner's injured and it's because of Goto. And obviously, if anyone's seen the screenshots of whenever Jake Lee and Gabe do promos backstage, it always looks like Gabe is looking at him with like so much love in his eyes.
Yeah, it was different for Gabe Kidd, like feeling like he was defending someone that he actually loves.
Yeah,
exactly. It's different for him as a character.
He's got a real friend in Jake Lee. All those, you know, not saying that the War Dogs ain't down with Gabe Kidd, but we don't see the camaraderie with the other War Dogs.
I almost feel like Gabe is, so you've got Finlay and then Connors and Maloney, and they seem to work because those two are okay with Finlay at the top.
Right.
Junior's heavyweight is different, but it almost feels like Gabe has never really found his place within those three.
Right, because he feels the same way I've always felt. That David Finlay doesn't belong at the top of the War Dog food.
Oh, here we go.
Finlay has more than cemented that he deserves that place.
Yeah.
Gabe, if anything, Gabe needs his own faction away from the Bullet Club. He needs his own identity.
I think that
stop with this.
To be honest, and all, I think that's where we're heading from a storyline perspective. With the way that David's always manipulated Gabe, right? Quote unquote. It's only going to be a matter of time until the light bulb goes off in the madman's head. So I think
I hope they use this Jake Lee story to bend into that.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Where this gets to a point where like they do this feud and then Gabe, because I assume after this, Goto's gonna have a shot at the strong title.
Well, they did kind of tease that with the victory that he might get. He might be in line for Fighting Spirit Unleashed.
Yeah, so with something like that, could it lead to still Gabe having this insistence that it's Goto's fault? And then something happens. Finley's there like the little devil on his shoulder, and then like you said, something snaps, and Gabe's like, "This is not." Then he takes Jake Lee, and they make their own little happy family, and they take Ishimori, and just the three of them, I guess. I can't think.
Bullet Club Madman.
The fucking madmen.
Depending as to how long Jake's going to be out for, and long-term storytelling is always what New Japan Pro Wrestling goes for. If Jake's out for a long period of time, I would think they would have to pivot, right? But if you really want Gabe to go mad, essentially Jake Lee might have to turn on Gabe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Do we know how long or how seriously? No. I feel like we didn't really touch upon that. Injured.
Yeah, I haven't really heard anything as far as like how
is it
supposed to be out.
Is it a Fujita injury? Is it a Wato injury? Like,
I think it's more Wato than Fujita, to be quite honest.
That's not right.
But we get next another multi-man matchup, but this one was very intriguing out of all the multi-man matchups on the card, as you had just 5 guys represented by Sanada, Taichi, and Takumi Shinoku versus TMDK, the G1 Climax 34 winner, Zack Sabre Jr., Kosei Fujita, and X, a mystery partner who would be the newest member of TMDK. We got the big video entrance, said NJPW, X Noah, and you knew who that was. It was Ryohei Oiwa, and it makes sense. This makes a whole bunch of sense, because if you all remember when Zack Sabre Jr. was playing his mind games with Evil back in the G1 a couple of years ago, who were the 2 young lions that he used? Oiwa and Fujita. So he's back with them. He's officially a member of TMDK, and this was more of a match to build up the potential IWGP World Heavyweight title matchup between Sanada and Zack Sabre Jr. if Zack is able to get the job done at King of Pro Wrestling, as those 2 men will meet at Royal Quest in the UK. But it was also for Oiwa to really showcase himself. He got isolated. Kind of transition of the Sanada finisher of rear naked choke into your actual finisher, and he hits a discus lariat for the 1-2-3 to pick up the victory here. Oiwa looking good in his first match back for New Japan Pro Wrestling post excursion. And TMDK, man, it might be the best current faction in New Japan Pro Wrestling with the two best prospects, one for the junior division in Fujita, one for the heavyweight division in Oiwa. And I stand by that because Oiwa, man, he just looks really good. The attire with the TMDK logo, his physique, and he just looks like an impressive specimen. And I like this matchup here. I gave it 2 3/4 stars, but the new TMDK with the current IWGP and NJPW Strong Openweight Tag Team Champions Shane Hayes and Mikey Nichols. You got Robbie Eagles. You got Bad Dude Tito, and he's over here. You got Kosei Fujita, who can become a potential IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. And Oiwa did not waste any time in establishing that he wants gold for TMDK as well. And of course, Zack is the #1 contender for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So they look really good coming out of this one here. What did you think about Oiwa being the newest member of TMDK in this matchup here, Sonal?
I mean, I think they said on commentary it was the worst kept secret, wasn't it? Like,
yes, it was.
I did a poll and I was like, who's it going to be? And thank you for the 22% of people who said I was the newest member of TMDK. I quite like that. Because obviously Oiwa had his last match at Noah, had the whole like send off. So it made sense. But I love Zack's dedication to these young guys. Do you know what I mean? Like, even at the end of the match, Zack almost like lifted him up like a child to get Oiwa into the middle. And I quite like this. Now we're going to have this dynamic in Oiwa and Fujita. Like, it's not common that you get young lions from the same class going into the same faction. I think we did have it, for example, like, I guess, Finlay and Juice were all both Hontai, and then Jay and Roppongi 3K. But again, they were never... It was never as close, I think, as these two. And I like how in the post-match comments, Fujita was like, we can be teammates, but we can also be enemies. And I think that's nice. And as SPSP said, I love the storytelling of, like, I remember those shows where Zack was using the two of them against Evil. And I think someone said, Valabi about, TMDK and Noah. The whole link, everything within TMDK just works perfectly. And you're right, probably one of the strongest factions. And I don't know if anyone caught it, and it's saying that one shot after it was the zoom into Taichi. Because what I love, and the commentary again brought this up, is the contrast between the factions at the moment. On one side, you've got TMDK, who've got tag gold. They've got the G1 winner. They've got 2 sets of new people. Then you contrast that to Just 5 Guys who, while they have Doki as champion, you've got Uemura who's injured, Sanada who's floundering, Taichi wasn't even in G1, and Taka Michinoku. Obviously, he's Taka Michinoku. So I love that, like...
Poor Taka.
It's Taka, isn't it? I love, like, in the post-match that Taichi was basically bigging up Zack and, like, it was a good choice. Zack is going to teach well. But you've got to think there must be some sort of hurt and sort of annoyance within Taichi that is like, I chose to separate from that. I thought Just 5 Guys was going to be the faction, and it was for an extent, with Sanada as champion. But then you look at, I like to put it as Taichi's former husband, and you see his success, and you're like, that, like, what could have been different if I was with him rather than if I'd have gone the Just 5 Guys route?
That's a good point. And I want to see the eventual Zack Sabre Jr. versus Taichi matchup. I hope it happens when Zack wins the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and we can see Taichi with the biggest match of his career against his former husband. That would make a lot of sense. And I agree with what you said, as well as what Vala B said. Like, just Oiwa joining TMDK, it just makes all the sense in the world with the Noah connection, with his connection with Fujita, with his connection with Zack. It checks all the boxes. Dustin says, though, while I agree it makes sense for Oiwa to join TMDK, I think it's disappointing that Oiwa did return in a bigger format. I think that it like maybe in this instinct, like after this matchup, you're like, oh man, I wish that he debuted in a bigger way, like a Suji type of way that we saw last year. But by the end of the show, I don't think you can say that it's not a big place that he's being brought back in. He's immediately thrusted into one of the top title programs going into King of Pro Wrestling.
And also another thing, and this is like, I think it's been a case with a lot of the young lions in this class, is think about it, when Suji did his excursion, nobody saw Suji in New Japan. He did the UK and then CMLL. We have seen this with, it's similar, Fujita never really had a big homecoming.
No.
Because, like Oiwa, Fujita has been seen in New Japan. Again, he's been, Oiwa stayed in Japan. So a lot of those fans have probably watched him in a Noah match. Like, I feel like maybe what's their tag team name? Oscar and Yuto.
Was it New Blood?
Yeah, so something I feel like if they came back, it'd be big because we've not seen them. We've not seen them like mainstay New Japan fans won't have seen them grow, so they can do that big reveal. But with Oiwa, he's as I said, he had a showing in the N1. He teamed with Kiyomiya. Do you know what I mean? So again, like SPC said, by the end of it, it made perfect sense. And while it wasn't maybe as big as Suji, I don't think you always need those big fireworks to start with, as long as the story makes sense in the long run.
Yeah. Plus, I think that it's like they were saying on commentary, and what you guys were saying. He was down the road. He was down the block, and people kept on watching him and stuff like that. I was not surprised, obviously, because like Sonal said earlier, it was the worst kept secret in all of professional wrestling at the end of the day that Oiwa was returning. The only thing I would have to say about this is that I'm going to toot my own horn here for a bit. I was finally right about something, SP3. I was finally right about something. And we'll talk about it after when we get to the main event or whatever the case is, because I predicted something, not necessarily. It was just me wishing it, but it became true right away where Oiwa was going to end up. So it was a good thing to see. But yeah, man, I thought it was cool. I think we're going to see some friendly competition between Oiwa and Fujita to see who climbs up the ranks faster in their respective divisions, right? And we'll see how the rest of the roster shapes up going into Wrestle Kingdom and things of that nature. But Oiwa's definitely somebody to keep an eye on, just because outside of him being one of the younger generation guys, it's how good did he get in Noah, right? So because there are real Noah loyalists and New Japan loyalists, so fans of one won't watch the other. So at this point, New Japan fans, even though everybody's in a close geographical proximity, they might just have no idea what the hell's going on and what Oiwa was up to. Good things coming. I feel and I believe so. Definitely for Oiwa in the immediate future. He looked good. He looked good in the multi-man match here. Good comeback and stuff like that. Yeah, not everybody's gonna get the Suji treatment. You know what I'm saying?
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
I think Suji is like, as we say with Tanahashi, 1 in 100 talent. Suji is that person as well. Do you know what I mean? Like Uemura didn't get a big comeback.
They tried to make it seem that way, but it wasn't that way.
No, I think
it was very similar to this. Honestly,
yeah, like they teased the new member, just 5 guys over a few weeks. Whereas, yeah, with Suji, because Suji didn't even have a match. So here and with Uemura, they were like teasing it for a multi-man, and then they had it. But I think with Suji, he literally just came back after the match.
Yeah, like, he came back after Sanada beat Hiromu.
Yeah, he's like, I'm back, guys. And
big reintroduction. And yes, Oscar Lobe and Nakashima is Youngblood in Rev Pro. Youngblood, not New Blood.
That just reminds me of the 5 Seconds of Summer song. I'm sorry.
Well, that's fair. Corey Michael says, was an absolute beast at Destruction. I'm excited for him being in TMDK, and it gives another scenario where we just had this year Yota Tsuji being in Los Ingonopolis de Japón and challenging the champion who was the leader of LIJ in Tetsuya Naito, and we can potentially have that same scenario if Zack is able to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship and Oiwa rises up the ranks and gets a shot himself.
Didn't he Oiwa got really big in though? Like, because I don't watch no. Man, that guy has built up some. Because I remember at one point thinking, oh, he might be a junior or something, but no, he has built up very well.
I saw that when he versed Kiyomiya. He looked like I was like, God damn, this guy.
Yeah, he's a beefy boy. He's gonna be out there slapping meat. So it is what it is.
Can he change his hair though? I don't know how.
No. He's I think the internet that does watch New Japan Pro Wrestling has lovingly cemented him as the mullet.
No. The mullet's fine. The mullet I can take. It's the two-tone.
Oh no!
Two-tone mullet. It works. Two-tone mullet. No. It needs
it's not the two-tone mullet. It's the mullet. He can just dye it all blonde or dye it all black, but it's the two-tone.
No, he wouldn't look right blonde. He wouldn't look like blonde. He either dyes it black or two-tone. I like two-tone.
Though, I know. I said this about Zack. I never thought he could do blonde, but Zack suits blonde very well.
Yeah, I mean, somebody else went blonde and it didn't look too bad on him in this next match.
We're gonna talk about that right now, as you had Hiroshi Tanahashi, Toriano, and Bolton Oleg representing Hontai Chaos as the Never Openweight 6-man tag team champions, defending against the House of Torture, Evil Show, and Yujiro Takahashi with Dick Togo in their corner. Early on, the house got all three of the champions on the outside, beating them down. Show got on the mic and started talking trash about the city they were in. But in the ring, it was Oleg who made a dramatic comeback. He started even the odds here. Tanahashi found the courage and the spirit to contend with Takahashi until he was outnumbered. The champions, though, they made their comeback after a crossbody onto all three members of the challengers by Tanahashi. They reversed the dick-to-dick contact, and they did an ace-to-dick contact, did the champions, much to the delight of the fans. Ren Narita interfered in this one to stop Tanahashi from gaining the victory, only for El Phantasmo sporting a new hairstyle, no more mullet, and he went all blonde to turn the tide for Hontai. Tanahashi unleashed a high fly flow following CR2 on Takahashi for the 1-2-3 for the Hontai trio here to retain the Never Openweight 6-man tag team championships. El Phantasmo and Jado got into the center ring and started pointing at the New Japan logo, while Tanahashi extended his hand to Phantasmo to officially welcome him and Jado into Hontai, telling him, welcome home. This new alliance parted ways with the audience with a pose. Tanahashi and the group, they got to the top of the ramp and they started celebrating as Tanahashi started playing the air guitar for the first time in a long time. He was strumming his belt like he was had a guitar in hand as Yano and Bolton Oleg joined him, and El Phantasmo was amazed by the guitar stylings of Tanahashi. The babyface kind of getting the victory here was good. It was good in that part, but that was the only thing good. This is a House of Torture match, had the run-ins, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been, like their match on that Road 2 show that literally I saw the tail end of that matchup and I was like, I'm not going to rewatch this. This is not worth my time. Not worth my time at all. This was the better version of that matchup. So I will give it 2.5 stars. So now,
is this like the highest House of Torture rating you've given?
No, I'm pretty sure that Kanemaru will on this show will probably have the highest House of Torture mark.
No, I mean in terms of like for the trio styles.
Oh, multi-man matches?
Yeah.
No, I think it's always around like 1 to 2.5 stars. 2.5 stars is the hype. 2.5 stars is like 4 stars for another team. So now, what did you think about the Never Openweight 6-man tag team title match?
I think I've just forgot about it, to be fair, apart from the ELP moments. I'll focus on that. I'll focus on the good stuff. It was really emotional. I think, one, it was great to see ELP back. The new hair looks great. I really liked the story that they told here of that, because obviously, if anyone remembers, towards the end of the G1, Bullet Club was trying to tempt ELP into House of Torture, much to everyone's worry. And then obviously he turned it down, but nobody's heard from him. Everyone's like, shit, he's having a mental breakdown. He might end up actually going. But this was nice because we've had this ongoing thing of like, Hontai just doesn't have an image. They just have spares. And then with all these offshoots, like you've got GBH and GOD. And I like that ELP almost had like a realization. He was like, I can't keep dwelling. Yes, GOD have left, but that's only holding me back as a wrestler if I keep thinking, oh, but they've left, but they're not doing that. And it was really nice him pointing at the logo. Although I want to say, F you ELP for posting that black New Japan logo on his Twitter. Like, at first I saw it, I was like, oh my God, what's going on? But he obviously put the Japanese for home. But do you know what I mean? It was nice to see. And I think, as weird as it sounds, I think ELP will work well with Hontai. If he can now find his own way to help the faction, help them find a new identity, they can fulfill that idea of, they keep saying it, whoever joins on, they want Hontai to be a place people come back to. I think Tanner or somebody touched upon, they were upset that Oiwa had gotten to TMDK rather than go back to Hontai. So it's a step in the right direction, and I hope that it's a step showing that ELP is staying in New Japan for the foreseeable future, because otherwise I don't think they'd have set this whole thing up.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we don't know. I don't know, because he appeared on True Heel Heat, so.
This is true. This is true. Always a way out. Well, it was announced also at King of Pro Wrestling. It will be Hontai, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Shoto Aminu, and El Phantasmo teaming up for Hiroshi Tanahashi's 20th anniversary as they go up against Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru in a 6-man tag team matchup coming up on October 14th. But Jay News, what did you think about this matchup yourself and ELP officially joining Hontai?
You know, I never usually describe Hontai as a ragtag bunch of misfits, but that's what they feel like, to be quite honest. With ELP there now as a part of the group, along with the great Jado, who's been a heel the majority of his career. I think that this, to Sonal's point, can be a good transition to see if we can give Hontai a little bit of an identity here, a little bit of direction here. Maybe ELP can actually be the veteran voice of reason to corral Shooter Umino from being this gallivanting man
who likes taking people's girls.
Who likes taking people's girls, you know what I'm saying? Put the kid on the straight and narrow, you know, as the Prez handles business as he does. I think that it's interesting, right? I have to say this because it always lingers in my mind every time I watch a man like Yujiro Takahashi walk down to the ring, and to continue to see the Tokyo Pimps moniker on his ring gear.
He doesn't even have a pimp anymore. Peter's
Exactly.
not even there. The best part
he's not even a pimp anymore. Ain't no broads. The cane comes up just as chicanery. Like there's no hat involved. You know what I'm saying? When's the last time we seen Peter? Like maybe a year and a half ago.
I think the only time we mention Peter is when Jay News is on this channel.
Absolutely.
She was the best part, Yujiro.
Oh God, I don't even know what to say about that man anymore. He's more of a lost cause than Evil is. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's sad though? Think about was it 10 years ago him with Naito?
Yeah.
And just how and then he was in Chaos, and now he was never an issue in Bullet Club, But like he was just there, like he never did anything. But now he's in House of Torture because the faction is so small, and technically he's one of the veterans. Do you know what I mean? Of like thing. He's getting thrust down our throat. At least when he was in the massive Bullet Club that had no identity and like 30,000 members, you could go an entire 3 months probably without seeing him.
Yeah.
Never
We
mind.
only got annoyed by him with the G1 when he used to have awful matches in the G1.
Yeah, man. I feel like, I don't know what New Japan is gonna do with Yujiro Takahashi here. He's just a part of. He's not necessarily
part of the furniture. They can't get rid of him now.
Yeah. basically. But yeah, I think this was more of a continued showcase for the never open weight 6-man tag team champions themselves. It was cool.
Go Bolton Oleg.
Bolton Oleg, man. He still got to grow on me some, man. You know, I just it ain't there for me yet. It's still not there for me yet.
Yeah, Genius, listen to this. If we talk about Gabe Kidd maybe having a new faction,
sure.
Take Bolton Oleg, turn him heel. Because I think, and I've said this, as good as it is, he speaks Japanese, beautiful. You know, he's very respectful. He's still just like SP3. Didn't you have like a word for it? Someone's got a word for. Was it Kieran who had a word for like a way to describe Bolton Oleg? Like he still feels very naive to me. Like he doesn't feel like he's grown out of his young lion trunks, teaming with like Yano and.
They just added color to his young lion trunks.
That's what I think, and I think that's a big reason why I understand why J News isn't connecting. Because while I am like, yeah, go Bolton Oleg and everyone, yes, I make beats. I freaking love Bolton Oleg. I've still not seen the personality.
Yeah, it doesn't. It hasn't. I still don't. I don't feel. You know. I don't have a sense of connection. As Sonal said with Bolton Oleg, I just don't. I don't have a sense of connection with a lot of wrestlers of the New Japan roster for different reasons. Bolton Oleg himself, you know, he's a young lion transitioned, but he's also a 31-year-old man who doesn't have that long.
he needed an excursion. I think while I get they didn't give him an excursion, because again his wrestling is fine. For me, excursions do more for character. We saw it with Okan. If anyone followed Okan's journey when he was in the UK, and if you also followed Suji's time in the UK, their transition through that and then coming back was amazing. Like Okan's character in Rev Pro and stuff, while it wasn't perfect, it did help to see who we've got now. Similarly with Suji, similar with Shota. Oleg, he's not had. I compare it to like Finlay. You know, Finlay obviously Juice was a bit different because he did WWE, but Finlay didn't go on an excursion. So when he stayed in Hontai, and I guess with HENARE as well, they just stay there. They're just like a bit elevated versions of Young Lions.
Yeah,
that's fair. I love this analogy by Dolores. Oleg seems like a NJPW Wardlow. LOL.
Nah, not never. You know why? Because Wardlow hit a peak. Bolton Oleg hasn't hit a peak yet.
That's true. That is true.
Bolton Oleg needs some. He needs to. I think we said this with Wato. You know when Wato needed to get away from Taguchi.
Yes.
And then he got Desperado. You need to get. And we love Tanahashi in this house, you know. But you need to get Oleg away from the Yanos and the Tanahashis and give him something with some spice. Give him to someone who has spice in him.
He needs that. He definitely does.
He needs some seasoning. He needs some seasoning.
Let's go on to the next matchup. Another title match here as we had Doki defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against Yoshinobu Kanemaru with Yujiro Takahashi and Dick Togo in his corner. Considering Kanemaru spent much of the time on this matchup, he was focused on this knee. He was brutalizing the knee of Doki, wrapping it around the ring post, various holds on the leg, maintaining that spirit. Proved really good to this matchup, I thought. It was strong on the psychology and the selling by Doki of the knee. Doki Eventually was down on the mat with Kanemaru applying pressure to the knees, locking his legs. Kanemaru mockingly posed as the champion desperately crawled to the ropes to break it, screaming in agony. Sending Kanemaru out of the ring, he flied over the top rope onto him. Doki started showing more spirit, more fight. Kanemaru nearly cut him off with the jackknife pin and got a near fall, but the knee problems nearly cost Doki in this one. He was a millisecond away from getting counted out with the 20 count on the floor, but then he eventually started making his comeback. He hits the bridge into the backslide for the near fall. He eventually locks on the Doki Choki, and has Kanemaru pretty much dead to rights. It looks like he's not going to get out and that he's going to pass out in the move when Sho arrives out of nowhere, distracts the referee. This causes Kanemaru, gives him an opportunity to drink some whiskey and spit it back into Doki's eyes. He tries to take advantage of that, but the champion shows his will. He fights back. He takes out Sho. He does a tope suicida onto him on the outside. He eventually gets back in, hits a big lariat on Kanemaru, and then follows up with suplex de la luna for the 1, 2, 3. Love the fact that is kind of his death knell. Like when he hits that, no one ever kicks out. It's 1, 2, 3. He gets the job done. He's beating Hiromu like that. He's beating Despy like that. He's beating Ishimori like that. And now he's beating Kanemaru in the same fashion to retain the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. I thought this was the best match to this point of the show. I give it 3 3/4 stars. Very good matchup between these two. And like you said, Kanemaru worked the matchup as like an old school heel, wearing down the babyface, building to the comeback for Doki to look good in the end. Post-match, Doki tried to celebrate with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, but it was Sho who snuck in and stole the belt away from him. He threatens to break the title if Doki does not grant him a title opportunity. Doki obliges, so Sho says, okay, I'll give you back the title. I'm a man of my word. I'll give you back the title. And then reaches in his back of his trunks and blasts him with a wrench right across the face. Big boos for Doki in this one. I thought that, like I said, I thought it was a very good matchup and even a solid setup for a Sho versus Doki, which will go down coming up October 14th, King of Pro Wrestling. And most of all, I like how Walker Stewart and Chris Charlton presented this matchup, as this is another person that Doki needs to beat, because the records, when I looked at the lineup for King of Pro Wrestling, I did not know Sho is 5-0 against Doki. It's not like a couple of wins against him. No, he has washed Doki 5-0. That's a sweep in the NBA, and then one more game the next year he beat him. So he needs to get this victory and get Sho the hell up out the way. But I know there's some people that believe that maybe Sho wins to set up Yo coming back. So this could go either way. But J News, what did you think about Doki versus Kanemaru and the post-match with Sho?
The heel master was being the heel master for the majority of the match. He didn't need no stinking house of torture. He was out there doing heel stuff, battering the knee of Doki. There was one particular instance during the match where he had I believe Doki was prone face down on the ring apron, and he took his knee and Kanemaru kind of faked us all out. We all thought he was going to drive the knee into the apron, but he drived it all the way down into the floor.
To be fair, Doki did give me a bit of a heart attack when he started telling me. I was like, not another one.
Right. So I was like, yo, dude, like, where are we going with this? He faked me out even, and I was like, all right, this is definitely something more akin to a classic heel working match, which is what Kanemaru is. I'm not on Sonal's boat as of yet. I still am disowning Kanemaru. He's not Uncle Nobu yet again. I thought to myself, because I forget who, but I was reading it on online somewhere that it was a really solid match. It was Doki's, but some users there said that it was Doki's best match in New Japan.
I wouldn't go that far.
Right. And I was like,
I think both of his matches with Hiromu were better. His match with Ishimori on the road too was better, and I think his best match was probably the semifinals of this year's Best of Super Juniors against Despy.
I would agree with that because I was like, you know what? Let me go watch this match. Let me go watch the show to see as to what everybody's talking about. And it was from yet again to SP3's point earlier, from a psychology standpoint, it worked, right? Because Doki's selling was terrific. What Kanemaru was doing the working over the knee was terrific. You know, the heel master doesn't need the House of Torture. You know what I'm saying? And it's tough to have Kanemaru in that group, just knowing how good he still is, you know, and realizing that during this match. And I was like, yeah, he doesn't need to be a part of this freaking faction, man. Like, he just doesn't. He doesn't fit this aura of chicanery and BS that we see on a regular basis. But I will say that for all intents and purposes, it was a solid match. The show aspect of it, though, that's what got me at the end of it, right? Because I said, come on, man, we gonna have.
You knew in your soul that you've had Ishimori, you've had Kanemaru. There's only one junior member of Dick Togo, but I can't see Dick Togo.
Can he get out of this Bullet Club House of Torture vortex that Doki's been in since he won the title? At least
that's all they got, man. That's all they got. But
yeah, all the juniors are injured at the moment.
Yeah, everybody's injured.
You got Akira right there. Akira's
not ready yet. Akira's not ready for a singles title match.
Yeah, Akira hasn't held the belt. He doesn't have that history with Doki. Doki's got to get his licks back. He's got to get his win back. Essentially, the story that's being told here. If it is to be believed, right? Folks feel like, oh, you know, if Yo's on his way back, then Sho should win the junior championship on the way. And I say no to that. I say no to that because
Yo can beat Doki. Yo can beat.
Yeah,
Doki.
Yo can get in the ring with Doki at the end of the day. Doki's yes, he's a fan favorite, but for all intents and purposes, just five guys as a unit outside of Sonata himself, I think everybody's more or less a tweener than they are faces and shit like that. So, you know, there's that aspect of it. Yeah, I can't see Yo beating Doki with how strong the momentum has been. So I'm gonna go with Doki for the win against Sho come the King of Pro Wrestling. But my hope is that we get a decent match out of Sho against Doki.
No, you're praying SP3. You're hoping J News. In reality, we all know that's not gonna happen.
Unfortunately, you might be right.
My hope is that we get a decent match out of it, man. But we, you know, who knows at the end of the day. You know, I think Vala B said it in our preview for our preview from the last show that Wato's still a couple of months away. If Yo is the junior who's injured, who's on the immediate way back, then that would be an interesting dynamic between Yo and Doki to say there. Maybe they thrust Akira into that particular mix. Who knows? But yeah, man, he's beaten all the New Japan gatekeepers except for one, but the other one isn't necessarily with New Japan. So as SP3 likes to always remind me.
Well, he's gonna be on the next show. It was announced for King of Pro Wrestling. It's gonna be intergalactic jet setters Kevin Knight and Kushida versus the
IWGP. I was like, who are you talking about?
Versus the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions Bullet Club War Dogs, Drilla Maloney and Clark Connors.
All right. Hey, man, listen, man. At the end of the day, things can happen. But solid match nonetheless, I'll say.
Indeed. I agree. But next up, it's time for the baddest motherfuckers in the land. Never open weight championship up for grabs. HENARE defends against Shingo Takagi. If you've seen any of these two men matches in 2024. You knew it was going to be physical, and you knew we were going to get some headbutts. That's the two things that it's always guaranteed when HENARE versus Shingo Takagi. These two brutes were very evenly matched in the early going. HENARE took the advantage with a few barricade shots, some gnarly submission holds as well. Takagi found some kind of adrenaline rush to fight back. It's a big shoulder block, flattening the champion, rallying up the crowd. Takagi charged at a downed HENARE, who was subdued for the moment. He went for the Takagi driver, but he was able to escape. Kick upon kick, HENARE started to wear down the challenger, but Shingo would come back with some hard hits of his own. He tries for his full Nelson lock, but Shingo is able to get himself out. HENARE nearly had Takagi faded until Takagi was able to come back and hit a big Made in Japan for a near fall. Shingo followed suit. He hits a big pumping bomber, but HENARE regains control, blasting him with a big old headbutt. Takagi slowly and surely regained the fighting spirit. He recovered, hits a dragon suplex. They trade lariat, headbutt. Takagi deployed a pumping bomber. Then he gets the charge and runs off the ropes and hits a pumping bomber, turning him inside out. He then lifts up HENARE and drops him right on his fucking head. Oh my God. I was just like, what the hell are we doing? Drops him right on the head with the last of the dragon, and that had to be the finish. That maybe he wasn't supposed to hit it that way, but hell, when you hit it that way, it got to be the finish of the matchup. And Shingo Takagi is your 5-time never open weight champion. What a hoss fight this was. This is what the kids and what the cool kids would say was a banger in every way possible. This was a banger, an absolute slapper. These two guys just go at it and they leave nothing on the table. They just hit each other as hard as they possibly can. And I enjoy every minute of it. Shingo Takagi, 5-time never open weight champion. I gave this one 4.25 stars. This was absolute lovely violence. Sonal, what did you think about Shingo versus HENARE? Shingo going 3-2-1. He now has the advantage it's now tied up because HENARE had the advantage with 3 wins over Shingo. Now it's tied 3-3-1 out of their 7 matches. But what did you think about this one?
I love these two together. They're at a stage where there's so much mutual respect, but that mutual respect does not take away from their in-ring action. Now, we've seen it a few times in the past, and I kind of feel like we don't need to see it again for a while. Yes. However, while we have seen it how many times do you say they've done it now?
This is their 7th match, but I would say this year, I think they faced 4 times this year.
Okay. So this is like the 4th time. It was just as good. These two men are the pure definition of what I think Shinyon Pro Wrestling is. It is heart. What is it? Mana? Is that what?
The mana.
Mana, right? Or I guess in Japanese, tamashi, which is soul. Those two are the pure epitome of it. And what I love is with these two, the hype that they are putting on the Never title. Specifically, the way they're hyping with HENARE. Of like HENARE fell in love with New Japan because he watched Togi Makabe doing the Never match. And for him, the Never title is like IWGP. And while, yes, they've been switching the titles to and from, it's the first time that they've presented the Never title as somebody's top priority. Do you know what I mean? Like in the past, we've seen it's like maybe a transition from junior to heavyweight or something to do it in the meantime. Or in the case, it's been some title you give to House of Torture to keep them out of any other title picture. But for this feeling, for me, between Shingo and HENARE, they always make it feel like it's an IWGP match. And these two, again, similarly to Cobb and Tsuji, in another world, these two would be an amazing team together. Do you know what I mean? They're both very similar in style. They both have the same love of wrestling. So, yeah, it was like SP3, like you said, it was an amazing match. Like, they brought, while again, I still think that we need more consistency with the title. They have now brought the level of the Never belt, the match quality much higher.
Yeah.
And I just kind of hope that. See, I'm conflicted because obviously we'll find out at the end the next challenger for the Never belt, and I'd love him to have it, but I kind of want some consistency with the belt.
Yeah, I would think that Shingo should hold this belt going into Wrestle Kingdom, because it don't matter who you give him at Wrestle Kingdom, it's going to
He'll
be a
do
great match. He'll
Except
deliver.
Yujiro.
Yeah, I even like Shingo has been now using the hammer and anvil elbows since he faced Bryan Danielson at Forbidden Door. I like that he's even pulling stuff from the different people that he's fighting and using it in future matches following that. After he took that loss at Forbidden Door, he's been using that move. And like you said, I think that this is kind of bringing the essence back of what made the Never Openweight Championship. Like HENARE, the first Never Openweight Championship matchups that I saw was Tomohiro Ishii versus Tokai Makabe. And I saw, Tomohiro Ishii versus Katsuyori Shibata. This is bringing that type of vibe to this rivalry here. And another person that I think should probably be in line, if you're going to look at people who should be, getting a shot at this title that can bring that type of essence, is the aforementioned Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd is another guy that you could put in there with those two guys that can give you those hard-hitting, physically intense matches that just have the people like kind of on the edge of their seat or on their feet, ready to see these guys beat the ever-loving hell out of each other like this matchup was.
I kind of hope that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Somewhere down the line, so you have the list of names that you associate with Never. I would love to think that at some point in the future, HENARE's name. Do you know what I mean? We've got the Ishiis, Shibata, Suzuki, Goto, Shingo. I'd like to think that at some point, HENARE will become, because there's not really a guy Kokujin who is synonymous with this title, who was really put. So I'd love to think that at some point HENARE is going to be linked to that title.
That is true.
I do not
so I stand corrected. Dustin says it was 3 times. So it's the Dominion match, the Soul match, and this one.
Don't disagree with you there, Sonal. I think that HENARE should definitely garner some consideration from the fan base to be be in that sphere. You know what I'm saying? Being synonymous with the Never Openweight Championship and things of that nature. So I agree with you there. While I was watching the match late last night, this is the match that got me out of my freaking seat, if I want to use a term, right? Just the hard-hitting action, the sense of, guys beating the crap out of each other, but it's strong style nonetheless, right? It's what New Japan is known for. And to have it still be prevalent, right, and still be a marquee matchup on one of their middle shows, right, be it Destruction in Kobe, was cool to see. I did not expect the title change, to be quite honest. I would have figured for HENARE to hold on to the title for a little bit longer, just because I felt like he had been doing a good job with it. But there's never a mistake when you give Shingo Takagi a title. It's not a mistake when you do that. That's never going to be a thing to be said. Hopefully he does hold on to it up until Wrestle Kingdom. As to by the end of this show, we learn as to who his next challenger is going to be, but who will his challenger be going into Wrestle Kingdom is really more or less the question in that. In that regard, will they eventually feed him a Bolton Oleg? Oleg Bolton? Will Jeff Cobb go back to the scene?
I'd love to see Shingo Takagi versus Jeff Cobb at Wrestle Kingdom for the Never title.
Well,
I mean, that's still one of my favorite. That's probably my favorite pandemic era matchup in New Japan was them at Wrestle Kingdom in 2021.
Will Tsuji be thrust into the Never Openweight division? Can we get a return?
Will we see the return of Ishii?
Exactly. Can we get the return of Tomohiro Ishii? You know what I'm saying? Is that a possibility? There's definitely a good line of young men who can be a part of this. But, you know, I'm with SP3, something SP3's been mentioning in previous shows. The unification of these never open weight belts is a good idea. And if Gabe Kidd can step into the Japanese sphere, into New Japan proper, as I like to say, and get into that never open weight division and start wreaking some havoc and picking up some wins, I wouldn't mind seeing that. You know what I'm saying? Him and Shingo have terrific matches. So that would be cool to see. But this match within itself, look, man, HENARE, that word, man, mana, that word, for all intents and purposes, like people know, it means soul, it means spirit and things of that nature. The essence of, for people of his culture, the essence and the spirit of his ancestors and things of that nature. It's interesting to see HENARE where he's at now in comparison to where it all started, where it went for a little bit, for a little while. How we coined him gentrified HENARE for a bit and whatnot, to see him go through all that and eventually have him where he's at now, in this space where I feel like he's found his identity at this point. This is who HENARE is and what he's going to be. And this is a good place for him. You know, yeah, give me more of this. Give me more HENARE. Give me, you know, more of these banger ass matches going into the future, and we'll see where it goes. But I thought that he was going to carry the championship for a bit longer, but you know, It is what it is. We've got more time, so definitely a great match at Destruction.
You know what I love though is that HENARE's really got now the support of the crowds as well. Because he obviously, people liked him in Hontai, but then he went to Empire and he seemed to have like a chip on his shoulder. But I almost feel like the crowds and he himself has realized that, you know what, they love him because at the end of the day, he's one of theirs. He went through the dojo system. So, I mean, I don't know pre-New Japan, did he do the New Zealand dojo?
Yeah, he was
bad luck Falaise though.
Yeah. So he went through that. Then he came to the New Japan dojo and he went through the system. He did all of his reps. He did everything. And I feel like maybe Western fans don't feel it. Like, because I think HENARE maybe with Western fans is not as popular as he is with Japanese fans. But I think that sometimes Western fans don't understand that he is that popular with Japanese fans and the reason for it. But I love that he has this connection with the Japanese fans and they see him and this mana. He like Jane, you said, he's bringing his culture, you know what I mean, his life, his family to the ring rather than trying to be, you know, gentrified. Like he's proud of his heritage and bringing it and making history in New Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it's an excellent. Oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna get any vitriol from this, but it's an excellent. It's a real good opposing perspective from what the use of culture is, from what we see HENARE have and what we see from the bloodline, right? Because all in all, it's Polynesian culture. Yes, no doubt, different tribes get it, no doubt. I know the specificities, but like it's used differently, right? And it's still cool nonetheless. Is basically my point, right? And it feels different. So that to me is probably the most important part about it, because it gives us a sense of, yeah, HENARE's badass, man. Like there's no way around it. HENARE's badass, and it took a while, obviously, but you know we got here. And I'm glad that we're here. And just hoping to see more of it, man. Hoping to see more of it.
We do have a super chat donation here from Genesis J. Thank you so much, Genesis J, for the support. It says late to the show, but I'll say this. I don't want ELP to join those perverted losers. Hontai the hentai. Goddamn.
To be fair, the only one that may be perverted is Taguchi because you know his love of the ketsu. But I think that's a bit harsh on Hontai.
I have never equated hentai with Hontai. Genesis, you usually ride the J News train every show, but I can't get behind this comment. So, you know.
Hey, we're all entitled to our own opinion, but I haven't made that connection, but hey, he feels very strongly about it. That's why he sent a super chat donation.
He's
Yeah.
like, he's like, we need to see this comment. We need to know about Hontai the hentai.
Perverted losers. Damn, that's harsh.
Awful.
Harsh.
That's
It's harsh. It's harsh.
A bit harsh. Thank you, Genesis J, for the support. But next up was the match that I thought exceeded expectations the most on this show, which is sure to get J News upset because it was for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. David Finlay defending against YOSHI-HASHI. We started off the matchup very physical between these two men. A little bit slow in the early going, but it built up nicely. The Bullet Club leader using his dirty tactics to get the advantage. He started grabbing at the nose, smack talking YOSHI-HASHI, mockingly doing push-ups as he was in full control early on, aiming for a suplex at one point on the red entrance ramp. Finlay tried for a bit, but they were quickly dashed by YOSHI-HASHI, reversing it into a suplex of his own and rolling Finlay down the ramp. YOSHI-HASHI tried to gain more of an advantage, but Finlay caused great damage to YOSHI-HASHI by slamming him into the turnbuckle ring post, power bomb, basically a buckle bomb into the ring post on the outside. YOSHI-HASHI, though, did the same to him in the ring. After a grappling for a semblance of control, Finlay landed two Irish Curse backbreakers, but YOSHI-HASHI grasped momentum with a hold. Gato sneakily handed Finlay a shillelagh, but YOSHI-HASHI kept it from him from using it. Goto strong arm Gato on the outside, which got the support of YOSHI-HASHI. YOSHI-HASHI came close to gaining the victory in the similar fashion that he did in the G1 Climax final show, hitting the crucifix bomb for a very close near fall. He tried on the butterfly lock for a bit, trying to get the submission victory, but Finlay was able to hold on. He hit a big lariat, got a near fall on that one, but Finlay ended up regaining control with the big pop-up power bomb. He then transitioned that into the overkill. He got a near fall on Oblivion, but it was the overkill that gained him the 1-2-3. I thought this was the cleanest overkill he's hitting, where you see it, he hits him right in like the jaw and shoulder with the big knee, picking up the victory here. I thought this had some tremendous pacing to it. It built nicely with the crowd really rallying behind YOSHI-HASHI, wanting to see him get the biggest win of his career. Love the storytelling with Finlay trying to use kind of YOSHI-HASHI's biggest embarrassment and trying to get in his head by exposing the bottom of the ring frame to make him bust it open again in the same place that he did all those years ago in Destruction in Kobe. But it was Finlay who picked up the victory in this one. And what I thought was YOSHI-HASHI's best match since his Kenny Omega match back in like 2016, 2017. Very good, excellent matchup, in fact, in my opinion, between these two men. And David Finlay has really come into his own since the G1 Climax. I think that he really knows the type of style he wants to work. He knows how to pace his matches very well, and he's really showing the poise of a top heel in New Japan. Post-match, he got into Goto's face, basically throwing out the Global Heavyweight Championship, and Goto went head-to-head with him before David Finlay went off and bailed out of the ring. And it was announced that these two men will meet for the Global Heavyweight Championship at King of Pro Wrestling coming up on October 14th. What I thought, like I said, an excellent matchup here. 4.25 stars, so right up there with Shingo and HENARE for me. Sonal, what did you think about Finlay versus YOSHI-HASHI?
This was my favorite match of the night. Like, for me, I mentioned this at the start. I was expecting something good, but I was surprised to see how much it won, like, my heart, like how much I enjoyed it. Like, I've always loved Finlay. Like, I had a bit of grievances, obviously, when he first became, but, like, I always say this, Finlay and Jay White's feud in 2018 was the reason I got into New Japan. So I've always got a special place for that. And YOSHI-HASHI, again, like the proper underdog. I love how, even in the match, they had that psychology. Like, basically, Finlay's been a bastard heel, bringing up that fall. And then the simplicity of, like, opening up the turnbuckle, like, do you know what I mean? The curtain to sort of, like, tease him about that. And from that, we got a proper babyface versus heel match. And again, I really like the idea of YOSHI-HASHI having Goto as his second. Again, linked in from, like, obviously he had the win against Gabe, and then he's the next challenger. So yeah, I think by far one of YOSHI-HASHI's best matches. Like, I think they mentioned this on commentary that both Finlay and YOSHI-HASHI's shoulder injuries seem to be the making of them. And you can say that is very true for YOSHI-HASHI, because after that injury, he came back, and that's when Bishamon started to really thrive. And so while I was like, is YOSHI-HASHI more than just a tag wrestler? All that teaming with Hiroki Goto only helped him. Similarly with Finlay, he came back from his shoulder injury, and suddenly this is what we've got. And both men were really playing into their character of, like, the heel and the proper babyface. So Genesis, YOSHI-HASHI should have won. You know what? In an ideal world, YOSHI-HASHI would have won, but I don't think it's time yet. It's not time for YOSHI-HASHI to win singles IWGP Gold. Maybe we'll start him on Never, but not yet.
Maybe the Never title, but no. David Finlay, like I said, I've really been liking his work. He's on a consistently great run of in-ring work since the G1, in my opinion.
But also outside the ring on social media, like the bastard heel decided to post a picture from a documentary of a woman who was crying about YOSHI-HASHI because she was a big fan, and basically said he was gonna crush her dreams. He has now found that perfect balance between being a heel in the ring, but also being a heel outside.
Yeah.
And that's why, and like, people might bring up like, oh, you were criticizing Finlay. I was only criticizing Finlay because I know the potential that he had. And now that I'm no longer seeing an evil Jay White, whatever, Bullet Club past leader reincarnation, that's why Finlay is coming into his own and is actually thriving more than he has done ever in New Japan, really.
Yeah, this is like one of his best runs ever since his starting off in New Japan. But let's hear from the number one David Finlay critic, Jay Mills. What did you think about Finlay versus YOSHI-HASHI?
You know, for all intents and purposes, I've never necessarily criticized his in-ring ability, right? The kid's a hell of a wrestler. I've always wondered where his character was going to lead him, where he's going with all of this, what leadership qualities he provides to the Bullet Club War Dogs. He's a manipulator. He is a heel bastard. He is one that, I'm speaking for myself, he just gets on my nerves, really. He doesn't necessarily make me feel like somebody should beat him. It's like, yeah, you just shouldn't be here, is really more or less my thought process when it comes to David Finlay. And it hasn't stopped. I will say this. though. You know, yesterday's match between him and YOSHI-HASHI cemented for me what SP3 sentimented earlier, where it did feel like he has finally come into his own with all of this stuff. And I, for one, can sit here and say, yeah, I see that now. I see that he's coming to his own with all this stuff, especially in more recent times. Do I still feel like he's a cognizant leader of a team? No, absolutely not. But
he feels more like he's not where Jay White was when Jay White left, but he
Correct.
Feels like 2019 Jay White.
Who
finally figured out what he needs to do to be the heel and the leader of Bullet Club.
To your point and to Sonal's point, I think he's figured out his heelness, right? I still don't feel he's figured out the leadership part of it all at the end of the day. That's just me. I will give him.
It's Genesis J as well, because he loves you preaching.
So you know that's it for when that's the nuance of it all, right? You can be a good heel, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be the best leader of a faction at the end of the day, right? So for me, he's finding it, which is cool to see after all of these years in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's finally starting to find it. He's in his groove. He's in his bag, as the kids like to say nowadays. But for all intents and purposes, this match coming up at King of Pro Wrestling versus Hiroki Goto, in my estimation, this is my personal opinion, it's the end of the road, David Finlay. It's the end of the road. You will no longer be the global heavyweight champion after this match with Hiroki Goto.
To be fair, I would love to see Hiroki Goto holding this because it feels like obviously Goto on the Intercontinental title. That belt's gone. Let's bring the second. Let's finally bring proper gold.
The G in global stands for Goto.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. It's more to the akin of the fan in me. I want to see Goto with a belt before he retires. And doing it against David Finlay. I mean, as to where David Finlay is on the card and how he's perceived, it makes sense, right? I don't think they're gonna have Goto and YOSHI-HASHI go back into tag league together. So I think this would be a good place for it. And you know, yeah, that's really much it for me when it comes to that. Somebody needs to beat David Finlay. Why not it be the OG? You know what I'm saying? So Goto for the win at King of Pro Wrestling. But terrific match between him and YOSHI-HASHI. YOSHI-HASHI, he's been bringing that fire, man. He's been bringing that fire all year long. And for YOSHI-HASHI to bring out his what do they call it? It was a song. It was a swanton bomb, but they called it something else during commentary. Or what the case is, loose something. I forget what they call the move at the end of the day. But YOSHI-HASHI was bringing out hits he hadn't brought out in a long time. Great showing for YOSHI-HASHI. Maybe we'll see YOSHI-HASHI in the never open weight picture. So
has he ever been in that? He's been in the tag never, but I don't think he's ever been in the singles never picture.
It's a new wrinkle, right? At the end of the day, if you put YOSHI-HASHI in that particular space, it'll be a new wrinkle for YOSHI-HASHI in that space. So I would want to see it to see if he can really deliver the strong style.
And he proved he can against Tomohiro Ishii in the play-in tournament. I tell everybody that's the one forgotten match from the G1 time, is that play-in match between YOSHI-HASHI and Ishii in Kurgan Hall.
Yeah, man. So you know that's definitely somewhere that they can stick YOSHI-HASHI into. So yeah, man. Yeah, it was a swanton. Yeah, it was a swanton. I made Pete's. It was a swanton, but they called it something else during commentary. I just forget what they called it. Yeah, man. I can always give the devil his due when it's due, and this match did prove to me that David Finlay leveled up and that he's definitely found something in what he's been doing from a character perspective. But yet again,
that's major praise from you, J News.
Yeah.
You know, step in the right direction.
You know, I evolve. I can grow. I can see things for what they are at times. But you know, there's still levels of this shit. You know, he's not all the way there yet. But you know, he's taken a couple of pages out of different books, and I can appreciate it. So yeah. Good stuff.
We do have a super chat donation here from Genesis J once again, and he says, if Jimmy Macaram got a disclaimer, where's yours, SP3 Sonal? Is because Genesis J is a well-known David Finlay hater. That's why he loves when J News spews his hate.
How can you hate the former C Block champion?
Damn shame, Genesis J. You're better than this. You gotta see the error of your ways. But let's talk about the main event of the show. The show was going along good with the Doki Yoshinobu Kanemaru matchup, HENARE and Shingo, and David Finlay and YOSHI-HASHI exceeding expectations. And I'm sorry to say, but I think the main event brought it to a halt. Tetsuya Naito defending the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against the great O-Khan. These men took their time taking off their entrance gear to start things off. And interestingly, the pace really halted on this one. The pair exchanged some holds and some grappling, keeping the audience waiting for like it to pick up. Naito's strategy had the match in his favor, but all Okan needed was an opportunity to strike and apply some pressure to the notorious weak knees of Tetsuya Naito. Combined with that, Khan used his full force of the weight, dropping on the knees of Naito, getting him in various holds. He hit like a big slam at one point and when locked on a head and arm choke at another point. Naito made a comeback. He dropped Okan with a couple of different moves. Tornado DDT that turned Okan all the way across the ring at one point. He recovered. He hit a big neck breaker on the ramp and rolled into the ring and tried to get the count out victory, but Okan was able to get back at the count of 18. Naito trapped him in the Puma Placa to no avail as Okan was able to get out. Naito later dropped Khan with the Destino, the running Destino, but only got a near fall. The Kobe crowd got up for this one for the closing stretch. Okan hit the Tanaka punch and looked like he was about to put him away. He hit his flatliner and looked for the Dominator, but it was Naito who hit an out of nowhere Destino and gets another near fall. He then finally picks Okan up, rings the arm, and actually hits the proper Destino for what felt like the first time in months to pick up the victory here. I thought the closing stretch of this matchup was good, but it doesn't negate that this matchup was over 30 minutes long. It did not need to be that long. I understand that all the matches in the bottom half of this card were 20 plus minutes. I did not think this one needed to be 30 minutes because, yes, having a really good final 5 to 6 minutes makes you come out of the matchup being like, okay, that was good, that was solid. But it doesn't negate that the first 20 minutes of this match moved like a fucking slog. But Naito retains the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Post-match, though, things got interesting as Zack Sabre Jr. came out with the G1 Climax 34 trophy, making his claim and officially challenging Naito for King of Pro Wrestling. They were interrupted by Shingo Takagi, who came up and alluded to the fact that he has a victory over Tetsuya Naito, and he might possibly want to get in the mix with these two men for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. But it looked like before he can make a proper challenge, Ryohei Oiwa came out and actually challenges Shingo Takagi for the never openweight championship at King of Pro Wrestling. Shingo Takagi says, let's do it in Ryogoku. And we got two of our big title matches for the next card on October 14th. It will be the G1 Climax 34 winner, Zack Sabre Jr., getting his title shot early against Tetsuya Naito, while Shingo Takagi will defend the never openweight championship against Ryohei Oiwa, the newest member of TMDK. So two huge matches added to the King of Pro Wrestling card. Like I said, they did a great job of getting me amped up for King of Pro Wrestling, which I think is going to be one of the best cards of the year for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm a fan of Great Okan. I'm a fan, and I still think that Naito has a couple of great performances still left in the tank. I just don't think this was one of them. Sonal, what did you think about Naito versus Okan?
I think I was one of the few people that didn't hate it. I understand. I agree that it definitely went on longer than it should have gone on. Like 20 minutes, I think, would have been a nice maximum. However, and I guess I'm like the small portion who quite liked like how it all went. For me specifically, I liked the reaction that Okan got. The chance of I like that idea of like is Okan ready for IWGP main event? Maybe he wasn't, but is Okan ready for main event matches? Yes. He has proved that he is a big fan favorite. Like there was multiple occasions. Like, for example, when Naito goes against guys like Shingo or Hiromu or Tsuji, it's understandable, like Tanahashi, it's understandable that the crowd would be split. but I don't think I've ever heard chants for O-Khan before. And for that, I was personally extremely happy for him because I was like, he really has been building up to this match. I don't know, maybe because I focused maybe less on the match itself in terms of like the pacing, but I quite liked the fact that, and I said this at the start, they were trying something new. They didn't put it on like a massive show, but they tried to put something different. And I read online that it didn't hit with a lot of people. Maybe it's just I have like a soft spot for O-Khan, but I liked the match. And again, the end, like the final stuff at the end was brilliant. I loved the fact that Shingo came out and asked Zack if he understood Japanese, and then went on to ask Naito if he understood Japanese. And
I speak Spanish, so you have to ask that.
You know what? It's an easy mistake to make. You know, for all we know, Shingo and Naito have not spoken in the last how many years he's been in LIJ. so just
I didn't absolutely hate the match. Like I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, but yeah, I expect more than a 3-star matchup in the main event of the New Japan.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think this is a thing of this is O-Khan's first rodeo in this sort of spot. It would have been New Japan really testing out the waters, and I think, yeah, while again 3 stars isn't awful, it wasn't amazing for an IWGP. I think they have kind of low-key learned that in the future at some point, O-Khan is someone they can trust. Maybe not in IWGP picture, but do you know what I mean? So, like we mentioned YOSHI-HASHI, maybe somewhere in like the Never, or like, do you know what I mean? Something in that way. But yeah, the end part, that section, I loved the fact that when someone came out to challenge Zack's claim to it, that the newest member of TMDK came out to sort of be like, wait, you're trying to take away the opportunity of Zack? Well, no, you can face me before you even have a chance of doing that. And that was a really nice thing, because there's so many times where young lions coming back and trying to get a title shot can seem forced. But this seemed perfect, because no, he didn't just come out and randomly say, I want Shingo. He had an idea, but he came out trying to protect Zack's opportunity. So I'm very excited. The reason, and I was with J News, that I'm worried about Mr. Zack Sabre Jr. is what happened at the end. When Naito said that when he beats Zack, he wants to pick his next challenger, not only looking at Shingo, but looking at Mr. Hiromu-chan, who was at commentary. That's, like, again, I am the biggest Zack Sabre Jr. advocate. I want nothing more than to be in those stands at Royal Quest and see him holding that title. However, if New Japan are trying to scare me into thinking he won't, they're doing a pretty bloody good job of it.
Hey, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
They're terrifying me. Like, again, I'm not going to say no to a Sanada versus Zack special singles match, but I don't want that. I want to go there. I want to see an IWGP title match, please.
Agreed. J News, what did you think about the main event and the post-match here?
Post-match first for me. I thought it very interesting that we got Shingo Takagi to come out after Zack Sabre Jr. to challenge Naito and also point at Hiromu in regards to what the goings-ons were going to be and who was going to challenge Naito for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, because Hiromu, for months on end at this point, has always for years now, has wanted the main event Wrestle Kingdom, but at the same time, he was one of the first ones in LIJ to challenge Naito for his now championship. Okay, so I'm not going to jump off the bandwagon yet. I still have a little faith here that Zack will get the win at King of Pro Wrestling. I still have a little faith. I'm not going to jump off the bandwagon. To Sonal's point, they got me a little scared here with the post match stuff, with the Hiromu and the Takagi and Naito talking about he wants to pick his he wants to pick his
opponent
and things of that nature. Hold on a second, guys.
Oh, I guess he had to cut off.
Janice is
But
that terrified. Janice is that scared of the idea that Zack might not win. It's like, I've got to go now.
he's got to go. He's got to go real quick here. But we got I Make Beats who says Okan looked badass in the pre-match video package. I
Can I
agree.
say,
Like,
Okan's really been pushing this narrative of wanting to spread New Japan. And which I think also contrasts really nicely with Naito, who, while he loves the company, he's still very much tranquilo. He does the signings, he does the appearances, but Okan is actively going out of his way to find a way to get New Japan out there, whether it's like manga or other stuff. And then it would link to like his interview where he was basically bashing Naito and stuff. I think that they're really setting up Okan to be maybe not the top of the company, but someone who loves the company, even though he spent like ages saying he disliked pro wrestling and all that.
We also got Genesis J who says Naito and Great Okan tried. I'll say that much. I still love these two. I still love them too. And I think that, Great Okan, he's a guy that you can have occasionally in the main event scene, but I don't know. I just wasn't into him, working over the knees, and doing a whole bunch of holds. You have to make it interesting. I think that we did that with Kanemaru on this show, but I think that the Heat and Okan working over the legs, especially because he was kind of the baby face. When you listen to the crowd, he was the baby face working over and working like a heel against Naito when the crowd was behind Great Okan. That's another reason why I think that the match didn't connect with me. You're entitled to your opinion. If you liked it. That's fair, but it just didn't connect with me because the crowd was telling you Great Okan is the babyface.
I think almost Okan struggled himself to believe. I think maybe that's where the disconnect came, because ever since he joined the Empire, he's always seemed quite anti-establishment, quite like he's doing it for himself and the Empire. So I think he went into this match with that heel mindset. And I know Okan's quite old, but at the end of the day, like, he came back from it. He was the class after, like, Jay White and all that. He was similar to HENARE and Shota, more like that. So I feel like he went in with this very strict, like, I'm a heel, I'm working the knee. And due to lack of experience, he couldn't change that style as easily to become the baby. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it was like, we've seen Tanner do it, where Tanner's gone in the babyface, but he's heard the crowds. So he's managed to switch that to become the heel, and he's done that in his moves. I don't think Okan is at that point, because I think it's hard, because he's probably spent weeks preparing for this match, like, I'm going to be the heel. And when he got that positive reaction, he's like, shit, how do I suddenly change that? Whereas again, Naito is another person who can be a babyface, but then can change it up depending who he's in the ring with.
J News, did you want to finish off your thought?
Yeah. To piggyback off of what Sonal just said, I think it's very important for professional wrestlers as a whole to understand that there is something to be said when the crowd is in your favor. I think many legendary pro wrestlers have always said when you get in the ring and the fans are giving you a specific kind of energy, you have to play off of what the fans are giving you. And, if you have to pivot from there. And I think to talk about the match, I think they didn't pivot well enough in this match at all, because the sensibilities were, to Sonal's point, to SP3's point, it seemed like Okan was working heel when the crowd was behind him the whole entire time. Like, it was the first time where I heard an entire arena chanting, Okan. And I was like, all right, stop working the knees, do something. You have to listen to the fans. I remember watching a John Cena interview where it's like, you have to listen to the people. I know people hate talking about him, but Hogan said the same thing for many years. You have to listen to the people at the end of the day. So it's like
Rock talked about it in the Vince McMahon documentary when he was talking about him and Hogan at WrestleMania 18.
You gotta listen to the fans, man. And for all of that, I understand there's a certain element of pro wrestling where it's like, nah, I'm going to be able to turn these people during this match because my work's going to be good enough for me to do it. But sometimes you just have to, absorb what you're getting and then just pivot from there. The match itself didn't work. I thought that from the different stylings that Okan can bring to a wrestling match, he chose the wrong style. And that's what disappointed me the most about this particular match. He didn't choose the wrong style in the sense of, he can't work that style. He can work it. It just wasn't the right style to work for this match, is what I'm saying.
He went into it with a set mindset and struggled to change it, like we've said, based on the crowd's reaction.
Yeah, he didn't adapt.
And I think the reason why the closing stretch worked for me is because the closing stretch then felt like he was the babyface.
Yeah, it took too long.
That's why that last 5 minutes worked for me.
Yeah, it took too long for them to reverse course, and it should have been done earlier. So that is what that is in that regard. I think. Look, man, I from a personal standpoint, from a fan standpoint, I want ZSJ to win at King of Pro Wrestling. That's where I'm at. I understand the underlying cultural subtext, if you want, of it all, where it's like, okay, they never had a non-Japanese wrestler headline that made, win the championship at Wrestle Kingdom or be the champion at Wrestle Kingdom, whatever.
They're not doing that. So it's basically
you can make the argument that that's the reason why.
They've created a whole situation where he will be the champion going in, where there is a precedent for that, where you've had Jay White be the champion going into Wrestle Kingdom. You've had Kenny Omega be the champion going into Wrestle Kingdom. It's then they need to just pull the trigger on this, have Zack win at King of Pro Wrestling, and then the next obstacle is if you're going to have Zack win at Wrestle Kingdom. That's the whole thing. That's the next obstacle but we gotta pull the trigger while you got the bullet in the gun. Pull the trigger on Zack winning.
Go ahead, son.
I think whatever happens with Zack will also probably point in the direction of TMDK, because I think there's still that whole thing of he's not specified what title, but Fujita wants to be the youngest person to hold a junior title. So I think if they're going to keep pushing, and with the return of Oiwa, I think it would be kind of shitty for them to bring Oiwa back, try and build up TMDK, and then go, oh, by the way, Zack's not going to win. Because you can't have the front man in a fact, because I think we can all guess that TMDK are going to win the tag title match at King of Pro Wrestling. So it's almost like if you're going to build TMDK up to be this top faction, you need the front man to have a top title.
And it would be a like the situation with Darby Allin in AEW. I know Jay News knows about this more, where Darby basically put his title shot on the line and didn't take the title shot at Grand Slam and then loses to Jon Moxley. But this would be even worse. If you win the G1 and you have a guaranteed main event at the biggest show of the year, and then you just decide to take it early and lose? Nah, they can't do that to Zack. That would ruin Zack.
That's the thing, though, right? Like for us as fans, because this is, I mean, that's what we are. But for us as fans, we want the ZSJ win, but ultimately, to use a phrase, to quote Brian Pillman, the man with the pencil is the man in charge. You know what I'm saying?
It's how much Gato is willing to risk for Wrestle Kingdom with the addition of Wrestle Dynasty. I
mean, here's what we have to lean into, right? After King of Pro Wrestling, and let's say after Royal Quest, what are the shows that are coming up, right?
You have Power Struggle. We have
the tag tournaments. The tag league tournament,
Fighting Spirit Unleashed in the U.S. and probably another show by the end of the year.
We also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the crossover event's happening this year again.
Yes. The story crossover. Yeah.
So we're having that show. So for all intents and purposes, for me, Zack winning signifies a pivot and a change for New Japan Pro Wrestling that's necessary at the moment, right? because the talk and conversation all year has been New Japan's lost all its stars. They haven't been able to correct course. Whatever people have been saying, right? It's like you give Zack the belt, you give it a new shine. You see where Zack can take it and go from there, right? Naito winning this championship at Wrestle Kingdom earlier in the year, and then whatever the case, to get the roll call. We got the moment. It happened. We don't need him to be the champion right now, right? Because ultimately 2024 has been a year in ring for Naito where he's slowed down quite a bit and whatnot.
Yeah.
Zack can carry the torch from an in-ring perspective, and also from a character perspective, because he's wildly funny, even though he's brash and sarcastic a lot of the time and things of that nature. But he's a breath of fresh air from a character standpoint. So that's why I think ZSJ being the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion would be a good thing. I don't want to take away from Takagi being in that space, from Hiromu finally getting a potential main event match at Wrestle Kingdom. But to me, we still have time for Hiromu to do that, right? Takagi's already been in that space, and Takagi rules wherever he's at. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not a necessity right now. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the pivot to Zack is the necessity. That's the priority, I think, in this sense. And if Gato, brother, I know you watched the show. You watched the show. If for all intents and purposes, is I think ZSJ is the way to go for now, right? Because it just works due to momentum, character work, having the faction be at the top of the card. And now with Oiwa coming back and calling his shot on first go, much like Tsuji did, but calling his shot on first go makes for a more captivating story if we're going for the trend of cinema in 2024, right? So I feel like that's where the better story for New Japan goes with the New Japan characters and wrestlers as currently constructed. As to where it goes after Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, who knows? But right now we're post destruction at Kobe. So, and we're going into Pro Wrestling. So,
could this be another hint of maybe Zack winning? Is that obviously because Bryan Danielson has the belt, doesn't he?
Cheers.
Yes.
And just the idea of Wrestle Dynasty, because Zack keeps teasing this, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere in my heart, the hope is that the main event of Wrestle Dynasty, or at least somewhere up at that. Well, actually, maybe not, because Kenny and Tanner have been teasing stuff as well, so maybe that.
The whole reunion thing, right?
Yeah, like two people who.
I think that leads to Golden Lovers meets Golden Aces. That Kota, it's gonna be those three in a trio.
Is Kota gonna be back in New Japan in any capacity?
Yeah. But he's a part of AEW, so he could be a part of Wrestle Dynasty. And he's been teasing even more than Kenny that he and Kenny are coming back to AEW.
Wait, so this is gonna be Kota and his current boyfriend and ex-boyfriend versus his past boyfriend, basically a battle for Kota.
Here's a question for you guys, and it seems that Kota Ibushi, that is, has been insinuating that him and Kenny are on their way back soon. Is there a possible way that we see the Golden Lovers in World Tag League if they're that soon? No,
that's not going to be their debut. That's not going to be their
not a debut thing, but like just a part of it is what I'm saying.
No. I think if they're going to come back,
they're coming back for
Dynasty. They're going to say
they're coming back
at rest at Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, he's been saying they're coming back for AEW, and the AEW tag team division needs.
Oh no, for sure. I completely agree with you, brother. I'm just saying, is there a freaking possible universe where they actually participate in tag league outside of their AEW stuff?
Maybe next year, but I feel like for them to come back to New Japan, and they wouldn't come back as no offense to World Tag League, but won't come back as something mediocre as World Tag League.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, to finish my point on the main event stuff, at least it gave us different story points to follow going into all the other events for the rest of the year. So good setup by the end of the show. I appreciated that. and we'll see where it all goes. But I'm rolling with ZSJ at King of Pro Wrestling, just for the betterment of the perception of New Japan Pro Wrestling going forward into 2025.
Basically, guys, as the roundup, if this podcast had a different title, it'd be "It's Coming Home Again."
Coming home. But we shall put that in the headline for King of Pro Wrestling. Fingers crossed. But let's wrap up with Destruction in Kobe. We want to thank you all. You guys have been very active in the chat. Thank you for the super chat donation. Genesis J, final call for super chat donations. And let us know in the chat your match of the night, your MVP, your LVP. You gave the show a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle, and out of 10, what did you give the show? For me, Sonal NJ News for NJPW Destruction in Kobe 2024 in 3, 2, 1. Thumbs up across the board from all of us. Out of 10, I'm going to give this show a solid 7. 7 out of 10 for me. I think this is really based on the final 3 matches before the main event that really carried on this show. J News, out of 10, what did you give the show?
Same thing. That was my initial gut feeling that shot straight to my brain. 7 out of 10. The multi-man matches worked for what they were supposed to work for. We had all the different story beats hit, new storylines starting to percolate, to use a word, to go into the next shows. So solid 7 out of 10 here for this show.
Sonal, what about you?
So I'm positive, aren't I? So we're gonna go up. We're gonna go for 8, just because I do like I personally like the main event. Again, this might be my bias for great, but I really like how they built up King of Pro Wrestling. Like, they've given us some great ERP storyline was great. Oiwa storyline. Oiwa. I always feel like I'm saying it wrong.
Oiwa.
Oiwa. Oiwa. Sometimes I feel like I'm saying it wrong. That storyline was great. I thought it was 8.
We do have another super chat donation here. I Make Beats. Thank you so much, good brother. He says, broke as fuck, but y'all made my Monday better. Much love. We appreciate you, good sir.
Sure.
And he's also been a member for 1 month. Again, you've been here a while, but we appreciate you being a member of the channel for sure. Christopher gave it an 8 out of 10. I Make B says 8 is good with me. So a lot of people agreeing with Sonal. Genesis J says great show, gang. Talking about us. He says thumbs up for Destruction in Kobe though. 7 out of 10. LVP BBL Finlay. BBL Finlay. MVP YOSHI-HASHI for him. Who was your MVP for the show, J News?
Damn. Shoot. That is a good question, man. I'm to be honest, man, I'm gonna roll with Genesis J. YOSHI-HASHI for the win here, man. I didn't expect that out of YOSHI-HASHI for this match, to be quite honest. So great showing for him. Great to know that he can hang on that level. So better things to come for him in the singles division. YOSHI-HASHI for MVP for me as well, man. Good pick there. Good pick.
I'm going with Shingo Takagi. 5 time. Never open weight champion. Sonal.
So I was gonna try and be different and say HENARE because HENARE did well, but my heart is for YOSHI-HASHI because he came out and over the years he's been teased by every fan, every wrestler. We all thought then he's just good as a tag wrestler, but he's really shown up and shown off in this match. And you know what? I've always been a firm YOSHI-HASHI supporter, so I loved that he was getting the support of the crowd and people are appreciating him.
We got I Make Beats giving some love to Ryohei Oiwa. And we also got Christopher who gives it to Zack Sabre Jr.
That's just the MVP of everything.
I Make Beats says BBL Finlay is wild. It is. But LVP for this show, I'm gonna have to give it. Usually it would be easy with House of Torture, but Kanemaru, I think single-handedly drove them out of LVP territory for me. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give it to Great-O-Khan and Naito because the main event let me down.
I'm with you on the Great-O-Khan part. I actually thought that Naito played his part, to be quite honest. Like I said earlier when I was breaking down the match, I just felt like O-Khan went with the wrong strategy for the match, and that to everybody else's point, it was a disappointment. It was a letdown. So he is, unfortunately, my LVP for this particular event. Didn't think I was ever going to say that about Okandes. He's one of my favorites, man. If you ever need to follow a professional wrestler on social media, the Great-O-Khan is the only wrestler you need to follow on social media.
That's true. That's true. So now, what about you?
I can never give it to O-Khan because that my heart was too much in that. I'm gonna go for Renneria. He wasn't even in the match. But the guy ruined another chance of me having Suji versus Cobb, and he's probably gonna win next week. So generally,
oh god, you're jinxing us. You jinxing us. Come on, what are you doing?
Earlier in this thing, because Jay News basically all but certified that was going to happen. So I'm not actually put anything into the universe that wasn't already in the universe.
To be fair, and match of the night. Even though I loved Finlay and Shingo, I gave Shingo my MVP because I gotta go with Finlay versus YOSHI-HASHI. HENARE and Shingo was a great match, a banger match, but I expected that from them. Yeah. I did not expect YOSHI-HASHI and Finlay to be as good or as great as it was. So I'm going to give that the match of the night. Sonal?
Yeah, I said at the start that I thought it was going to be good because I have faith in both YOSHI-HASHI and Finlay, but I didn't expect it to be my favorite match. Because like you, SB3, Shingo versus HENARE was amazing, but there was just something so fresh about Finlay versus YOSHI-HASHI, and the build-up for this has been great. Like, YOSHI-HASHI gave that, 10-minute interview about the worst, most embarrassing day of his life in detail, and they brought that into the match, and it shows that, YOSHI-HASHI is a very good storyteller when he wants to be and when he can find his emotions in a story.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. YOSHI-HASHI versus David Finlay was the match of the night. It is rare for me to ever give David Finlay any sort of credit, but I did earlier. I'm not going to reiterate it at this point. I ain't no need for all that. But I think that YOSHI-HASHI showed not only the New Japan fans, but he showed the world, man, that he can hang. He can hang, man, and that's cool. And like to Sonal's point, the storytelling aspects of the match, not only in ring but before the match with the pre-tapes and everything else in between. And the story that was told within all those different interviews and stuff like that, I thought was cool as well. So they're leaning into that a bit more this go around, so I can appreciate it. I think that something you pointed out earlier, SP3, Great-O-Khan and Great-O-Khan carried the content of what was the content of the story going into the match, even though the match itself fell flat on its face. So I like where New Japan is going from a storytelling perspective outside of the matches. So I wanted to make that point as well. But yeah, definitely YOSHI-HASHI versus David Finlay as the match of the night. Yeah.
There we go.
Go YOSHI-HASHI.
Go YOSHI-HASHI indeed. But that brings us to a close on another one of our review roundtables. I want to thank you all for joining us live. Thank you all if you're watching us on demand. And thank you to J News and Sonal for joining me for another review here. And Sonal, I'm going to give you the floor first. Let everybody know where they can follow you on social media, your YouTube channel, and anything else you got going on.
Yeah, so you can find me on X, the X at wrestling_chat, but you can find me most likely on Sonal's Life on YouTube. I literally, within a few hours, within 5 hours of the show ending, I had posted my Destruction Show review, and I will always do that. And also, guys, you should subscribe because not only are you going to get a first-hand recount of Royal Quest, because I'm going to be there, but your homegirl is going to Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. So if you want to be the first people to see things from them, make sure you hit subscribe.
And J News, the floor is yours. Let everybody know where they can follow you.
Y'all can follow me on the internets, different social media steps of the way on X / Twitter at John LYFNMG. Same thing on Instagram. Follow me on there as well. Also have the podcast, Hit the Ropes podcast with the lovely Dolores every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live. Episode 2 just dropped yesterday. Catch us on Hit the Ropes on YouTube, and we also stream live on all the other platforms on the day of. So please subscribe and support us on that end as well. And you'll always be able to see your good brother J News here on True Heel Heat talking all that New Japan goodness, as I like to talk. And that's where I'm at.
You can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. Follow the game, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at True Hill Heat. Patreon.com/True Hill Heat. $3 a month gets you exclusive content and the best place to support us when we are not live here. But I will be live tomorrow, 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time with Rated Raw Review, reviewing tonight's Monday Night Raw. In the meantime, between time, check out all the great content we got on the channel right now, like Collision Discourse number 43, reviewing AEW Collision Grand Slam. Check out the True Hill Heat flagship podcast. This week, we had Mark Hoke of the Mark Hoke Show, as well as Professor Chris of the NWA podcast as my special guest, talking about this week in wrestling, including the fallout from the Vince McMahon documentary, MVP to AEW, Shane McMahon taking pictures with the Young Bucks, and Ray Phoenix getting fucked over by his own brother. But check out all of that. Hit the subscribe button for more True Hill Heat content. But for Sonal, for J News, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been our NJPW Destruction in Kobe 2024 review. We are signing